Well. It's been 2 weeks. So you know what that means. It's time for another Fake Nerd podcast, mother effers. What's up? It's episode 342. It's a beautiful Sunday morning for some people. I'm Ryan Aleopoulos. I'm joined by my best buds in the world all the time, always. Sparks Witty.
Hey.
Good morning, Ben. How are you today?
It technically still is morning. So yeah, it is morning here on the Fake Nerd podcast.
And last but not least, we got Brandon T. McClure. What's up, my friend?
Good morning and salutations, everyone.
It is another episode of the Fake Nerd podcast where we talk about movies, except we can't. So we're talking about a lot of other great things.
Like TV shows.
Like TV shows and video games, which is I'm very happy to talk about.
TV shows we can't.
Just kidding, unless they're in another country. Bing bong!
We have successfully navigated around many of the strike rules for a long time. Speaking of, though, these as we talk, the WGA and the AMPTP have met for their fourth day in a row today. This is part of ongoing negotiations, and I only bring this up because we will talk about the strike once again this week. But as always, all the strike information is down in the links below. If you guys are interested in learning more about this struggle, why it's worth it, donating is huge because, once again, as people are saying, if the WGA strike ends today, which it can't because they have to ratify the contract before it goes into effect. But if that happens, SAG will still be on strike, which means they will still need support. They will still need our support. So if you are thinking about donating, hey, it's never too late. These people, there are a lot of struggling entertainment workers out there, not just the ones on strike, but the ones who are impacted by the strike. So please, if you can, donate.
Absolutely.
And the new one in the description is something we are going to be talking about a little bit later today, a little bit later in the episode, which is a petition because David Zaslav and Warner Brothers just can't stop being David Zaslav and Warner Brothers and are refusing to acknowledge Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network.
We know how petitions usually go.
Do we still have the Disney animation workers one in the links as well? Have we been keeping that one around?
It is not in this link. It is not currently in the live show. It is not there, but it will be there as soon as we are done recording.
Because now,
forgot.
Basically, what it is, and as Brandon said, we'll get more into it. But Warner Brothers Animation has reached the same point that Disney Animation reached a couple months ago, where the amount of time where they were supposed to be recognized passed. So now they are getting a petition going of people saying, like, you need to do this, you need to recognize them, like demanding it.
Yeah. So that is linked below, the petition there. And for you watchers, after we're done the live, then it's there. The Disney one is there for you guys as well.
Bing bong.
So yeah, but other than that, guys, there's plenty of other links in the description as far as us are concerned. No personal links. So no D and Darks and no CBR for the first time in many weeks. As I mentioned last time, I have left CBR, but Fake Nerd Book Club released 2 episodes in the last 2 weeks. One which was Ben's pick, Gwenpool, Unbelievable Gwenpool, Believe It.
Believe it.
And we have finally returned to the world of Wasted Space with Wasted Space Volume 4.
Yeah!
Woo! We're all really excited about that, so stay tuned for Volume 5 whenever we can get that one recorded. But Unbelievable Gwenpool was a lot of fun, so please check out both of those in the links below.
It was a lot of fun. I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was really I really like Gwenpool. Like, I don't mean to dismiss Gwenpool real quickly, but like I was so excited to be back in Wasted Space. I love Wasted Space.
Oh no, Wasted Space is great. It really is great.
Ben,
Also, poop ton of archives.
Oh yes, a lot of archive stuff. I forgot to write it down, but it is, guys. You can find the archive stuff. It's easily accessible. It's 2 months worth of archives almost. Is basically what just happened.
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
Because because you put up a lot at a time.
In bulk.
Really cool to kind of revisit our book clubs by the way. Our old book clubs have been a lot of fun to be like, oh yeah, we did do that one. All right, I do remember that one.
Oh yeah, we did do Secret Invasion already.
Yeah.
We haven't hit that yet, but we will.
It will happen. Yeah.
Secret Invasion, I remember. It's like, oh yeah, we did. I'm pretty sure we did.
The day before.
was a fun one.
Ben?
Yeah.
Basement Arcade Pause Menu episode dropped.
Yeah, it did. I sat
Got
down.
that?
Yeah, I do want to talk about that. So I sat down with a Twitch streamer, a friend of the show, and of course they are also a not only a video game collector themselves, but they manage and now own their own video game store. Their name is Eli. They go online, they go by Norman Bates Jr. And it was just a fun conversation and how we got in contact with each other. I just found one of their videos or their TikToks that they posted up on Twitter, and it was about selling, games that they loved growing up or some really important games in their collection, like some high dollar items, in order to pay for bills. Because in the episode they talk about how they're the term I believe they used was medically complicated, and and it's okay, I 100% get that, because like stays, some bills, and a bunch of other things that can rack up. And that was something that hit me hard, because when I saw that video, I was also selling some games to try and get ahead of some bills. I actually did some yesterday. I sold some games to not only try and save up a little bit for my big trip next year, but also to be ahead of some bills, because it'd be like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a good way to just sit down and talk and be like, what's the process of going through games? I'm like, because every person is different on what games they want to sell, but also it's just fun to talk about working in a video game store, especially a independently owned mom and pop style shop, and not a mega corporation like GameStop or Best Buy or anything like that. So it was really fun to get like a little bit of insight into the video game side of things. And it was a great conversation. Highly recommend it. And I definitely need to have him back on the show again.
Hell yeah.
Very cool. Ryan, that just reminded me. Ryan, you just started selling some comic books, didn't you?
Oh, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
If you guys want to buy some expensive comics that were signed by creators,
Send
go to
me
shortbox.com/my name.
Send me the link. I'll put it in the description.
Sure. You guys want y'all want all new Wolverine #1? You want Superior Iron Man #1? I buy every #1 in existence, so I will sell it to you.
Basement Arcade regular. Basement Arcade Diet. No, I'm kidding. Basement Arcade Mortal Kombat 11 is still going through. 2 episodes dropped. That one for part 3 and part 4. We played that game. It's a great game. Loved it. I because Mortal Kombat 1's release, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Mortal Kombat just in general now. I didn't realize that Mortal Kombat 11 was not this beloved game in the Mortal Kombat community.
It's specifically in the Mortal Kombat community, people don't like 11. But I'm not a hardcore fighting person. I love MK1 or 11 because it has lots of customizable options and like a lot of characters and like really fun story. But like for a fighting game person, they want a really great fighting game. And in terms of like MK1 is significantly a better fighting game in terms of just combos, the way everything connects, just like the use of like technical stuff. It is, in terms of pure gameplay, it is probably the weakest of all the games, but I think it's still a great game. So that's very much a hardcore fighting game community thing. I love all the new Mortal Kombat games. I think they're all great. But like the nitty gritty fight stuff, like no, MK1, they really knocked it out of the park with this one.
Sure.
Yeah. But really loved going through Mortal Kombat 11. I'm glad that people are getting to see that now.
I'm gonna toot my own horn, and most of the time I don't consult anybody about the title names. And I'm particularly proud of part 3 and 4. Do you know what they are?
I saw one of them.
So part 3 is
Cage. It's a Cage one.
Part 3 is Jaded from the Past.
That one's funny. Yeah.
And part 4 is The Future is Female.
The Future is Female. That's what it is. Was it part 2 was like something is caged or something? I don't remember.
No, that was
that 10?
was back in 10. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love funny.
So yeah, please check those out. And finally, in the description below, Animation Station, 2 episodes, Digimon Adventure Tri Part 4 and 5, Loss and Coexistence. So if you guys have been following the Digimon Adventure Tri saga with myself and Ben, that's 4 and 5, the penultimate episode of Tri. Yeah, really love doing those with you, Ben. There's been a lot of fun.
It has. I really enjoyed it. Like I said like I said when we were recording, if it wasn't for us doing Animation Station, I probably wouldn't have gone back and finished watching the Digimon movies, because I had the last 2. I just never saw them until we started doing this rewatch or these discussions of the entire film franchise. So it has been really fun. Also, it's just been fun to talk about Digimon again. I kind of missed that.
Yeah, we go into a lot of tangents about just Digimon, like Digivolution lines being so
Yeah.
weird and complicated, and
Yeah.
there's a new Digimon in the series called called Mekumon, and there's a lot of discussion about her and her line. But one of the things that I think is, so first off, I just want to say Lost, one of my favorite movies in the series. Lost is a Sora-centric episode where Biyomon is being a dick because of this big reboot that happened in the digital world, that all the Digimon lost their memories. And so Biyomon doesn't believe that Sora is her partner. And it's a great episode. Like it really goes into like what makes Sora work as a character, and her loss, as it were. I really like it. There's a lot of great scenes there. Coexistence isn't the worst in the series.
No,
it's down there.
Hey, it was really wild when Cruel Angel's Thesis started playing near the end of the film.
Right. Coexistence is the Evangelion one. It's so weird. At the end of that movie, it just turns into an Evangelion film, and we spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out why.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Because there's a Digimon called Ordenimon, which looks like an angel from Evangelion. It's insane. Anyway, really enjoyed that. Reunion has been recorded, not Reunion, Future has been recorded as the final one in part and try, and then we're going to go to Last Evolution Kazuna. Unfortunately, Try does not end on a high note, but it's a really fun conversation. It's been really fun to do. I really enjoyed doing them.
Two things about that. After 5 in a row recordings, Brandon finally did the intro and outro for Animation Station with confidence, so everybody like claps for Brandon. He finally nailed it.
Thank you.
And it's really funny because in doing a lot of the book club archives, trivia question incoming in the future, friends. Episode 66 of the Fake Nerd podcast doesn't feature a book club, and I was scanning through it to figure out what it was, and it's just Brandon and I discussing things that we don't get to talk about a lot on the podcast at the time. One of the things is Try, and is Brandon saying, boy, I really hope they release those Digimon movies someday.
Whoa!
5 years later.
What a full circle moment.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I didn't know that. All right. Well, that's all the links in the description below. I'm sure you're wondering where Conversation is. I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to edit it. It's coming. I'm thinking of doing something with the remaining Conversation episodes that will come out. I'm thinking about doing a special thing to kind of get them all going at once, but we'll see. So stay tuned for more information on that one. But outside of that, that's all the links in the description. Please check them out. We really love doing these things. We really like it when you guys check them out. We've had some pretty good feedback of a couple of the archive book clubs lately. There's been some comments about some other things. So please keep the comments coming. We really appreciate all of that. It really helps the algorithm kind of be like, oh, these guys are nice. And we're like, yeah, we are nice. So with that said, who wants to go first with their week?
I will. I ain't
Go
got
for
shit I can talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so that is that it?
Yeah.
I'll go
There's nothing
next.
I can talk about.
I'll go next. I'm still playing all the games that I've been playing. Baldur's Gate 3 continues to be fun. I've stopped playing Starfield. I played all of Mortal Kombat 1, and I played about 12 hours of just combat. Game feels great. Can't wait for us to play MK1.
How's the story?
It's really good. The ending is incredibly controversial. Some people truly hate it. I think it's fine. I'm not in love with it, but I think it's a cool ending. It's not a great ending, but 9/10 of that game I really love.
Okay.
I will. I'm wrong. I have one thing I'll say, and I'm going to make it really quick because I had a much longer conversation about it with Ryan. I finished the first season of Whittaker's Doctor Who. I can talk about that. And all I'll really get into is that I think that is an incredibly well-cast show with really great production value and a showrunner who probably had the wrong idea about what they wanted to do with the show.
Oh, interesting.
I'm
curious about that.
I'll say that, like, it's just, I think it probably would have been better if, for this showrunner, if it had just been, here's the Doctor, there is no consistent companions across the seasons, and just the Doctor goes places, has adventures. Like, you could have people involved with the Doctor across more than a single episode, but no more than 4. And probably would have done better. But as it's structured, there's so many good elements, and they are very clearly held back by a showrunner who I think had a misguided direction for Doctor Who.
What do you, so you think that the misguided direction was that he had a consistent companion, or is there something else?
No, it's that those companions are there, but they are not developing as characters.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And like I've watched an entire season, and I think all of them have gotten about a single episode's worth of development.
There's 3 of them, aren't
three
there?
of them.
Yeah,
There are 3 companions. Yeah.
It's a lot of screen time.
So that's where I'm coming from. Like, but they do a good job of when we are somewhere else and we're meeting new people at the adventure point, those characters are pretty interesting pretty quick, and we're only getting those characters for an episode, which is why I'm kind of like, I don't know, I feel like this is probably where the good stuff was, is to just like make Whittaker our only like consistent person, and everything else just be, and I don't know, I think that would have been an interesting way to go about it, is that like it is the Doctor, because here's the thing, Whittaker's is the first Doctor who I feel like could travel on her own for a bit and be okay. She has a personality who she exudes. I feel like she doesn't need someone in the TARDIS. And I think that could have been interesting for a while, is just her ending up places and befriending people she encounters for the things she's doing, but not taking anyone with her. And I don't think that would have been a terrible way to go. But as it stands, I can feel a cast fighting a script that limits them, and that includes Whittaker.
I can kind of see the development that you're also talking from the little of what I know about Capaldi's final episodes. It would be an interesting transition to have what him at the end of his regeneration transition into a Doctor who is okay with traveling alone. There is kind of an interesting arc there for just the Doctor overall.
Yeah, there's Whittaker's just in a Doctor in a different place, and I don't think it's like just who she is, but like the Doctor's arc, as you were alluding to, as coming out of Capaldi. You could have had a Doctor who's kind of like pretty solid on their own for a while. I don't think it should be forever, but I don't even think it should have been the entirety of Whittaker's run necessarily. But I think you could have gotten away with a whole first season of her by herself. Kind of like the David Tennant specials when he was at the end, and he would just show up somewhere and like really get close to one person who's on that adventure, but then like it's just that adventure. I think you could have done, or when he does the Christmas specials, and that happens too. You could have done the same thing here, and I think it would have worked.
Yeah, Catherine Tate's first episode was basically that.
Yeah, I think you could have done. I think you could have done the same thing with all of Whittaker's first season, arguably, and I think it probably would have been stronger and a stronger entry point for her to find her foundation and her ground, because like the script's not doing a lot to feed these other characters, these companions that are around her, but they are there, so they have to talk, so they're eating up airtime and space from Whittaker being able to develop and establish her Doctor. And if you just left her on her own on these adventures, I feel like by the end of the season, her Doctor would have a very clear persona and presence.
3 is a lot. That's a lot of companions.
Yeah. Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
I'm going to bounce off of what Sparks was saying then, because I also watched some Doctor Who. First, I'll just say I listened to some Doctor Who audio adventures, which the last 2 David Tennant ones I had, which were David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Lovely. I love David Tennant and Catherine Tate together. Even in audio form, their chemistry pops so greatly. I'm so they're so good. There's one that's called Time Reaver, which is about a pirate planet that's being overrun by this. It's not a drug, it's a weapon. So if you shoot yourself with the weapon, or you shoot someone with the weapon, time slows down for just that person, and you experience how slow time is moving. So the hopeful idea is that if you want to experience joy from having just experienced this massive joy in your life. You shoot yourself with this weapon, and then you experience that joy for a decade. And it's only a couple of seconds in real time, but for you, it feels like a decade. So, and that's a really cool idea, but obviously people are abusing it and using it as a torture device, and the Doctor has to figure out, like, why is this outlawed weapon work over on this pirate planet? It's a lot of fun. And then the second one was this kingdom in the 17th century is being plagued by literal death, like skeleton, black robes, whole thing, death. And Donna is engaged to be married to the prince, but then you realize that the deal that this kingdom has is that actually Donna is engaged to marry Death. And it's a really
what?
cool... What?
Thanos what?
Oh, sure. It's a really interesting episode. That's a really interesting audio episode that has a great new kind of not companion, but kind of what Sparks was talking about, like these new characters that pop up with Hortense, which Donna's made. It's a great new character. I really enjoyed that episode. Yeah. But I'll talk about, I finished Capaldi's. I finished Clara's last season, and I started Bill's first season. So I'm 2 episodes into Bill's first season, well, only season, I guess. I love where they end Clara.
Yes, me too.
I was kind of done with Clara by this point, like, to be fair, to be honest with you guys, and I was like, it's Clara's like outstayed her welcome for me. I'm kind of done with her. But there's 2 episodes, Hellbent and Heaven Sent, which I found were very compelling.
Yes.
Especially, I really liked Hellbent.
I knew you would. This is the one I've been waiting for you to get to, because this is the most anime thing to happen in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I know you saw it at some point. Then minor spoilers for an episode of Doctor Who you will probably never watch.
Yep.
No, Peter Capaldi.
Like, clear, total thing. I do enjoy Doctor Who, but yeah, when you guys talk Doctor Who, my brain kind of goes into a thing. But like when Brandon said Hellbent, the first thing I thought of was Hellbent for leather. Do. You know the Judas Priest song?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Sparks, you were saying.
But cue in for this, Ben, because you'll like it. And
Okay.
Brandon, correct me on specific details, but what's happening is that Capaldi's in this place where this is just after he's lost Clara, and he is finding this quartz diamond wall, right?
Yeah, it's not quartz, but it's like a diamond wall that... Yeah.
And so he needs a way to get through it, and he has no way, and he realizes that he is being killed by a creature there and then restarting over and over, but the wall stays the same. So he's just going and finding the wall and punching it with his fist as hard as he can. And he's just doing this over and over and over and over and over. And it's just the most anime, like, and once he realizes the pattern of him like giving a speech as he's doing it, because he's ending up in the same moment repeatedly trying to get back to Clara.
And you have this great moment where, because you're following the Doctor and he's trying to figure out who's imprisoned him in this place. What is this place? What is this castle that he's kind of trapped in with this creature chasing him? And there's a moment where he jumps out of a window and he sees skulls everywhere. He's like, okay, so I'm not the first prisoner here. There's a lot of these skulls. And so the Doctor slowly kind of starts to kind of piece it together, because that's what he does. And when he sees the quartz thing, he starts telling the story. And so that story starts to permeate this long montage of the Doctor dying and being reborn and dying and being reborn and dying and being reborn for 4 billion years.
Doctor Strange.
And you start to notice that it's getting longer and longer, because he starts finishing the story slowly because he's getting further away from the creature, because he starts at a specific point. And so as he's getting further away from the creature's point, he's able to finish the story as he's getting closer to the end of... It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's real good.
And then he ends up on Gallifrey.
Yeah.
Which is the first time we've seen Gallifrey since the 50th.
It's back.
I'm really glad you like that episode as much as you did, because that is one that, like, ever since I saw it, I was like, Brandon's gonna like this one.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so basically you learn basically, like, as soon as he clocked it, he realized what he can do. He can end up on Gallifrey and save Clara with a specific thing that Time Lords can do, which is pull people right at the moment of their death and then put them back. Importantly, put them back so that they die, because their death is a historical event that needs to happen. But the Doctor's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to save her, and she's just going to be fine. We're going to get away from her time zone. Everything's going to be fine. And long story short, I don't mind spoiling an episode of Doctor Who that came out almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Basically, long story short, he fails, but Clara and Shielder, which is a character that was introduced a couple episodes prior, are able to steal a TARDIS and kind of time travel into Big Finish episodes. So what I really appreciated about it is that at the end of Clara's season is that they're just like, why don't we go on to have some adventures? I'm like, oh man, Big Finish was just waiting for this. Like, oh, we got some Clara and Shielder episodes coming.
People love Clara.
And that's Macy Williams, right?
Yes, Macy Williams' character.
Yeah. Macy Williams and Clara leave.
Yeah.
With their own TARDIS.
He's an immortal.
And they go on adventures with their own TARDIS because she's immortal and Clara can't. Clara only has a heartbeat left, is basically how they describe it. She has to go back to her timeline and die, but it doesn't matter how long that takes.
It could be a million years by the time that happens.
Right.
Exactly. But as long as she ends up exactly in that place at that time, it's fine. The timeline's fine. And Shielder is also an interesting character that kind of pops up at the back half of her last season. Which I really like that, seeing that kind of character at different points in her timeline. And there's this really interesting idea that she actually can't remember because her mind is can only accept a mortal lifespan, not an immortal lifespan. So she can't keep everything that's happened to her in her
Right.
in her head. I really enjoyed that stuff too. There's some really, really interesting episodes that I was like, oh man, this is a really good stretch of episodes. And so then we watched the Christmas specials, which are the Husbands of River Song and the Dr. Mysterio episode, the Return of Dr. Mysterio.
Yeah.
And I really like both of those. I actually really liked the Husbands of River Song. And River Song, again, was a character that I was just kind of done with. I was like, there's not really anything here. But the Husbands of River Song is this episode where Capaldi for the first time meets River. And River has never seen this face before, does not think that he can even have this face because she doesn't know about the extra regenerations he got when 11 died. And so she's just assuming that this dude's an idiot, and Peter Capaldi's having so much fun with it. There's a scene that I love where like River like braces it. It's like about to steal the TARDIS, and River like braces him, and she's just like, okay, this is gonna be weird. And then Peter Capaldi's like, finally, it's my turn. And he walks into the TARDIS like, oh my god, it's bigger on the inside. He's just like hamming it up like crazy, and it's so funny. And this is a great moment when River finally realizes that this is the Doctor, and you realize pretty early that the reason why River doesn't know about this face is because this is the last face she sees before she goes to the library, which is her first episode that we see her in David Tennant. And it's tragic and it's beautiful, and I was really into it. And then there's not much to say about the Return of Dr. Mysterio, but I really liked that episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. Justin Chatwin plays a superhero. Quite enjoyed that.
Goku.
And I mentioned a lot about Clara right now, but I'm going to mention a little bit about Bill. I really like her first episode. I thought her first episode was really good. The Doctor is for some reason kind of being, oh, Nardole? You told me I'd like Nardole. You're absolutely right. Nardole's great.
I know. Yeah, Bill and Nardole are a good companion team for Capaldi. I think they
Nardole
really
that ball guy?
Yeah. I think they really caught magic between the second and third seasons with Capaldi. It's honestly one of those things where, like, as I was going through all of it, I was like, just like give him one more. One more season. I would have, like, Capaldi got in his jam with seasons 2
I really
and 3.
like Capaldi.
Yeah, I really like Capaldi too. And Nardole, it's really nice, not necessarily having someone who is on the Doctor's intellectual level, but who's also an alien. Travel with the Doctor, and that's what makes the kind of like the banter between the two of them, is because like Nardole is kind of on his level a little bit, that he can kind of banter with the Doctor in a way that a companion can't really, because the companion always is kind of learning. And that's not the case with Nardole. And I really appreciate that. Bill's first episode is wild. She goes from the past to the future to the being chased by spaceship jet fuel that's sentient. That was like this girlfriend that she really wanted, the girl that she really wanted to date. Really fun. Really liked it. Wasn't too crazy about her second episode, if I'm honest, but I really like her as a companion. And I really like the setup of the season. I really like Nardole. I really like Capaldi anyway. So like I'm really excited to be in this last season.
Yeah.
I
think you're in for some really high highs and a couple of lows.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But more highs than lows, I think.
It's nice to know, and I even said, like, when I watched like the Twice Upon a Time episode, which is his final episode, which I've seen that prior, but I really like I really think that Capaldi anyway goes out on a high note, and it's nice to know that the season kind of reinforces that. The season prior, there is one thing that watching Twice Upon a Time I didn't understand. Now I have context for, which is interesting because Sparks, you texted me, like, so wild to watch this episode without context, is that the Doctor doesn't remember Clara.
Mm-hmm.
Clara wipes his mind of her completely, almost completely, and his final episode, the Twice Upon a Time episode, he's able to get that back. He's been given that memory back, and I didn't clock that was what was happening. I didn't clock that context. So it's really interesting, not finally having that context and kind of recontextualizing that idea in this beautiful way of being gifted the memory of this person that he has forgotten.
Right. Yeah.
All right. I'm done with talking about Doctor Who. There's plenty more things I wish I could talk about, but Ben, I'm sure you've got something.
Actually, no, I don't really.
Then.
Fun nerd stuff wise, not really. Like, the only thing I could really kind of talk about, but still not really, because I'm still working on it, is I just got these 2 big assignments from Old School Gamer magazine that I'm really excited to be working on.
Yeah.
And also I reached out to my editor for one of the pieces, or one of the people I'm talking to be on Basement Arcade pause menu. So he not only gave me the go ahead, he also was like, "Where's my invite to the show?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, you can come on the show. I'd absolutely love it." So look forward to more awesome Basement Arcade pause menu episodes in the future. And the only other thing is that I went to Frankenstein yesterday, and I didn't spend any money. I walked out with money, and I didn't spend anything, but the temptation was there, because as all 3 of you know, I'm not trying, but I'm now really into the Pokemon trading card game. A new set just came out. It's the Pokemon 151, so it's current standard format, but it's celebrating the original 151 Pokemon that we all know and love. And as much as I wanted to get some booster packs, Elite Trainer box that comes with really cute Snorlax card sleeves and all this other stuff, I resisted and I walked out not buying anything, but I got some good cash for, like I said, bills, and also to save up for the big trip next year. And
Ben is it's quite funny that we talk about all the things that we do in a week, and Ben is the one. Here's what I didn't do.
Yeah, here's what I didn't do. I did not spend money on shiny cardboard.
That's being an adult.
But
it's less fun though.
It is a little fun, but I was able to hang out with one of my best friends yesterday. He's getting married in December, and we were just hanging out. It was a good time. It was a good time just to relax and just hang out and just be with friends for a day, which was nice.
Very cool.
And then I played some more video game stuff with these 2 later on in the evening, and that was also fun and spooky.
Which you'll see soon. All right. So I guess that means that we go into our bread and butter, shall we?
That's what we do.
Yeah. Bread and butter. It's so delicious.
Ben didn't get up early enough to have breakfast.
No, I didn't. After we're recording the show, I'm gonna probably get myself breakfast. Yeah. But it's just gotta be lunch.
Sure.
I appreciate you guys vamping during that. All right. We have some strike updates.
Strike.
There was a couple of things that we're gonna briefly mention that, like, some the talk shows were all coming back one week and then they all changed their mind the next week.
Yeah. Importantly, well, not Bill Maher.
He did change his mind. He's not coming back.
He's gone.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he changed his mind. He made a big tweet about it, like, "Look how cool I am that I'm doing this."
What a coward.
Yeah.
Bill
If you're gonna be a
Maher's
dick, just be a dick.
yeah, he's a dick.
The big floodgates all opened because of Drew Barrymore, and they all closed again because of Drew Barrymore.
Mm.
And hey, kudos to her, like, for doubling down on an apology video, then deleting it and saying, you know what, I am wrong.
My bad.
It's what you want. You want people to actually like listen and learn. So
Yeah.
Her apology video was painful to watch.
Wasn't good.
That and the Ashton Kutcher Mila Kunis thing coming back close to each other was real rough.
I can't even begin with that one.
Wait, what happened?
Don't worry about it. That's a separate.
That's a whole other thing, Ben. We'll talk about it off air.
Cool.
We'll tell you when you're older. All right. But a couple of things have happened. Now, importantly, we are actually not talking about any updates that have happened with the in regards to the WGA deal because we don't know anything. Rightfully so, there's a press blackout that both the WGA and the AMPTP are, well, they're still being dicks about it. But
Mommy and Daddy are fighting.
Well, no, they're not. The AMPTP is still leaking stuff, but they're being a little bit more respectful about it than they were last time. But they are meeting behind closed doors, as I mentioned earlier today. As I mentioned earlier in the episode, they are currently meeting to discuss the "quote unquote" best and final offer that the AMPTP has given them.
It's crazy that movies just aren't going to exist anymore. Crazy.
I know, right?
Final offer, movies just are done. Wild.
It's bold to take that stance because if/when inevitably they have to kowtow to, because I'm sure them saying final offer almost certainly implies that they are not giving them everything they're asking for. And we know what the writers are asking for and that what they're holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not there, then guess what? Negotiations are going to continue. And so it's real egg on their face when it's not the final offer.
The memes that have come out of this were really funny. A lot of writers being like, "Oh yeah, best _final offer, use this one," or final capitals volume 4, use this one, like, because like there's no such thing as a final draft.
Oh god, just give me all the flashbacks to my audio projects in college.
Even my scripts, like, use this one, like that one like flew me back to college. Anyway, but so as of now, the deal has not been signed. We heard that lawyers were coming in. The AMPTP has been putting stuff in the trades because that's what their PR firm is telling them to do. It's really scummy, but don't listen to any of it. Wait for the WGA to come out with a statement. The only statements that the WGA have had were, "We met today, we are meeting again tomorrow." That is the only important information that you need to know at this point. So I as always wait for the union to say whether or not this is happening.
I will say that I'm really glad that they are going to the negotiation table with the writers right now, because there was I think a legitimate concern that they were going to go for the actors first, and try and get them on a deal first, even though the writers have been striking longer, because just the same reason as we've talked about with directors, like writers are considered like even lower tier work than the actors are. And so clearing the actors on a deal, they would have attempted to like hopefully not have SAG out there backing WGA still. That's what they would have hoped for. And that's what a lot of people were nervous about, is that that's how they were going to try and weaken the writers' resolve. So it's really cool that we at least know that they're negotiating with the writers first right now.
Yeah, and apparently the CEOs of the studios were actually in the room, which was rare. That's not happened before.
Pissed them off.
They had to go to work.
Which shows to their credit, does show their resolve in finding a deal that will be hopefully good for everyone. And we'll see what happens with that. But whatever deal, if this is a good deal, then SAG-AFTRA, they'll probably want a similar one, because the concerns are similar, not the same. To be easier to get there. But one last thing I'll say, and then I'll let Sparks chime in, is that the WGA will still be on the picket lines with SAG should
Yes.
this deal go through and the strike is over. So
Right, as they should be. And that's the thing is like, no, everyone kind of had already heard the WGA say much to that effect before, but SAG as a union had not necessarily said we'll be out there if the riders don't get their deal. Individual pockets within the union had been supporting the WGA once they went on strike, even before SAG went on strike. That had been happening, but that didn't mean that as a union they were going to be supporting the other union. So it's really great that they're showing that kind of solidarity and everything. I also just want everyone to keep in mind that the reason why the CEOs are panicking and why they're trying to say final deal, it has to happen now, is because we are just a little bit away from October 1st.
Yep. Which
the beginning
is
Q4.
Of Q4. So they want those Q4 earnings calls to look real nice.
Yeah, they do.
You got a week.
But we'll see what happens there. But again, don't believe anything that you're getting from Deadline or Hollywood Reporter or CNBC. They are Variety. They are owned by most of those are owned by the companies that those CEOs run, and are being given leaks from a crisis PR firm that we've talked about before. So
I've never so
WGA.
I've never so quickly lost so much respect for like high title journalism as I did for Variety and the Hollywood Reporter through this, where I watch them put out things and I'm like, this is just wrong. This is just blatantly wrong. Cool that as long as like the people up top who are paying for it pay enough for it, you're gonna lie.
Yeah.
Great to know about big name journalism.
It's really funny, again, like just going on Twitter, like the discussing film journalism rise of like, we're going to actually take things seriously and describe everything in real detail. And we're never going to support the assholes up top. And I'm like, wow, you guys are just a Twitter poster and you are killing it. You are guys are like everyone who like all the big movie people like follow that thing, like they have like a lot of subscribers. So like the fact that just some random dude is like actually keeping everyone in line. And like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, like, no, we love the big studios. I'm like, solidarity, bro. Come on.
I mean, that's the thing where, that was kind of the issue, that these publications, that these people shouldn't own these publications. You shouldn't own all the means of, you shouldn't own the news as well as the making. It's dumb. Anyway, I think that I have one last thing I want to say about that. No, it's gone. All right. Anyway, let's move on though to some nice things, because Steven Spielberg and his wife Kate Capshaw have donated $1.5 million to the Entertainment Community Fund, which is helping workers. Really great.
The Temple of Doom money.
Yeah. Seth MacFarlane donated $5 million.
Oh, damn.
God. What an awesome man.
He really is the family guy.
God.
He's our American dad.
He really is our Orville.
Captain Ed Mercer. Actors, writers, and directors are also collaborating on a charity auction on eBay, with proceeds going towards helping crew members whose healthcare benefits are currently at risk during the strike. So
the memes made out of that have been so funny.
Yeah. Also, some of the real ones are also really funny.
Yes.
But then like the fake ones are like, somebody will come and just yell at you for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
The same day that Drew Barrymore decided to say that she's going to protect her workers by going back to work, and Scab, was Quinta Brunson, who is the creator of Abbott Elementary. She and other cast and producers of Abbott Elementary launched a fund to provide support to the show's production crew. So all the people who couldn't work anymore are getting paid.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Gee, who knew it was that easy?
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're on a strike. You're not getting paid. Don't worry.
Even this is the thing that really bugged me about Drew Barrymore. Even Fallon was paying his casting crew out of pocket, and we know that man's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Lovingly, Fallon's only doing it because all the other late night people are doing it, and he knows he'll get like run down if he is the one who isn't.
if I may, about Fallon, didn't something come out about him like just recently about how
Yeah.
he has like a really bad workplace environment? Like he
Yeah,
had
he's a
bunch
piece
of
of.
I believe we talked about it last time, but I don't know if you were on.
I
that
don't think you
episode.
were on, but we talked
Yeah.
about it. Like, yeah, he's kind of douchey. No one's surprised.
No.
In terms of Drew Barrymore, I think that what we saw happen is that she was told by so many people in the creation of and execution of her current talk show that she has become so authentic, so
Yes.
connecting to the regular person, that she believes she had actual understanding and optics of what regular people are going through. And realistically, unfortunately, Drew Barrymore does not.
Yeah.
She's born into money. She's languished in privilege her whole life. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I think her intentions were good. I just think that she had very different optics about what her place was in relation to everything than what is reality.
Yeah.
What was the quote from Jurassic Park 2? Some of the worst things in the world have been done with the best of intentions, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, VFX workers, we know, have been trying to unionize, especially at Marvel and Disney. Marvel Studios VFX workers have unanimously voted in favor of unionizing. This does not mean they have officially joined IATSE, but this is the first step. They just need to be recognized. So expect the petition soon.
Yes, I was going to say, expect like a lot of this, especially for the visual effects workers. I think this is going to linger for a while too.
Yeah.
We hope, I think, I'd like to believe that at least the writers, maybe the actors too, when their strikes are over, will champion the works of the animation and visual effects workers and say, like, also lend their voices to saying, like, you need to recognize them, because they're not at strike level because they're not unionized, but they are at a point where, like, there's a lot of legal loopholes to avoid recognition, and the studios are using them. And it's they can't legally say no, but they can draw out saying yes for a very, very long time, to the point where they're hoping to break the spirits of people who
Filibuster.
want to do it. And so hopefully we're going to see more people in the industry lending their voices to them as well. But for now, when the petitions come up, sign them. We really like our animation and visual effects workers, and they deserve a lot better treatment than they've gotten for decades.
Yeah. Adam Conover had a great video recently that talked about the fall of strikes, essentially. How strikes used to be, there were 400 strikes in a year at one point because everyone was in a union and things were great. And then union busting tactics in the 80s and 90s started to really affect who could be in a union, things like that. And how that kind of affected down to like, I think the number of before the pandemic was like 40 strikes, or maybe it was even less. But it's these union busting tactics are there, and you see it all the time, especially on Twitter, with people being like, nobody likes the unions. Unions are outdated. Unions are affecting other people. Why don't you think, like, that's all propaganda that has been fed to people through the media, that is controlled by people who couldn't want unions. And we really need to, and what's been really great to see about quote unquote hot labor summer going into kill 'em fall, is that what we're seeing is that people are realizing that we have been complacent too long. And what I've really loved seeing about, the only thing that I believe that was great about coming out of the pandemic, was that people have realized their worth. You don't tell people they're essential workers for 4 years, risking their lives, flipping burgers, and then go back to telling them that they aren't worth anything. No,
Yeah.
Those people are worth way more than the people who are controlling the money. And it's time we got our bag. It's time they got their bag. And that's what's been really great seeing about this. All these strikes, all these unionization efforts, like that finally feels like there's change on the horizon, and good change about it too.
It's a little outside the wheelhouse of what we usually do, but I'm really pleased that right now, like when you look back at this year, there's going to be obviously the writer and actor strikes are going to be a prominent feature of talking about what happened in the labor movement. Also, very importantly, the Teamsters winning before they even had to strike against UPS. That's always going to be a big landmark one. But the other one that's happening right now that happened over these last 2 weeks is that those 3 gigantic auto worker industries went on strike. And that's monumental. That is for the broader labor movement, that is just as big as what's happening with the writers and the actors. That's high profile because of the celebrityism and the pop culture-ness of it. But the auto worker industry, that's massive. That's a massive, massive strike movement.
Speaking of animation, though, let's moving on.
And sorry, real quick, if you were paying attention, you're watching the CEOs of those industries make the exact same blunders that Iger and Zaslav were making at the beginning of these ones. They're going out there and they're saying all the wrong things, and they're not sure what to do or how to handle it, and they look terrible, and people are talking about them, and they're scared.
Social media has been such a great invention for unions because, this happened in 2007, 2008. I'm guilty of this also. I used to say, oh, the writer's strike of 2007, 2008 ruined Heroes. I blamed the striking workers then because that's all I really knew. I didn't understand. I'm older. I understand. I've been on social media. I see the unions. I see how they're talking. I see how the industry works. The unions are talking directly to the people, whereas the studio CEOs are still talking through news outlets that they own, saying all this propaganda to try to get people on their side, but it's not working anymore because the unions are talking to the people. They're talking directly at us, saying this is why that's bullshit. This is why that has always been bullshit.
Right. And people are recognizing similarities in their work environments or work environments they've been in where they're like, yeah, this is how it's going. It's like, oh man, I believe that because that's how it's going at my work, or that's how it's been at places I've worked. And so when you see that, you realize like, no, that's definitely the same bullshit in just a different pond.
I mean, it's what Sean Gunn said, like right on the picket line. Well, it wasn't saying anything new. Where it used to be that the CEO to the lowest worker was like 40-1. That's pretty acceptable, honestly. Now it's 400-1. That's not acceptable,
right?
So that needs to be changed, and that's not the film industry. That's everywhere. That's every industry, and that needs to change.
And one last note on the auto worker thing, that like the labor movement's really hitting a high point now because Biden hasn't gotten involved or done anything. Like none of the high profile political representatives have regarding the writers or actor strike, but Biden is going out for the auto worker strike.
Oh, yeah.
He's going out there to show his support for their labor movement. That's also huge.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so as we talked about up top, the animation studios, Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, they are due. They should join TAG. They most likely will. But as Bark said, that Zaslav and Warner Brothers are using loopholes within the labor laws to delay it. So the petition is down below. Please sign it. And I will have the Disney one down below as well soon. But yeah, it needs to happen.
Yeah. Warner Brothers Animation is some of the best television animation that there is, bar none. They've gone through a lot of shitty stuff with the mergers and a lot of projects getting canned or reworked or canceled. And they need desperately support, and they deserve it because they make incredible material. Frankly, I think they are more the centerfold of television animation than anything else that's out there. I don't even think Disney can compete with their television animation. Their division's just not putting out the amount of variety and content and bringing in the same amount of workforce as what Warner Animation has been doing between its streaming service and Cartoon Network and Adult Swim.
Two of my favorite shows of the year are Warner Bros. Animated shows. One of them is currently on.
Yeah. Really, really incredible stuff. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful people who work there, and the animation industry as a whole is in a really bad spot right now. So if you care about these things, please go sign the Disney animation one as well. They deserve it just as much. All of them, all the animation workers deserve it. So whenever there's the opportunity, go support. And this goes for the visual effects workers as well. When that inevitably comes up, we need to support them too.
TAG is not a powerful union, unfortunately. There's a lot of animated studios, and it's weird. It's kind of wild to think that some of the biggest animated studios in the world aren't part of TAG, but TAG can get stronger if they do this. And the WGA has already said that right now writers in animation belong to TAG and don't belong to the WGA. They want to fix that. The WGA wants to bring those writers into the WGA, which will be huge for those writers. Great protections for them. And hopefully, if TAG can get all these big studios into their numbers, it can give them the leverage that we're seeing with SAG-AFTRA and the WGA, that they can fight for better wages, fairer wages, and if need be, go on strike to get
it. There's a lot of like chatter that if the Disney Animation Group gets recognized, you're going to see almost immediately on the backhand, because they just don't want to have to deal with the fight, because the thing is that all the workers under the company are pretty happy there. I'm going to be referring to Pixar. Pixar will get in there just to buoy more support. But they want to slide right in under the recognition. That's some of the chatter going on. But if you get Disney Animation, odds are that Pixar comes like immediately after.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it before, but the working conditions that were for Across the Spider-Verse were only able to happen because the studio that did Across the Spider-Verse was not part of TAG. And again, like, you know, that's how these people find loopholes. And if that is no longer an option for studios, then things that we saw with Across the Spider-Verse, a great movie, but you know, the working conditions were horrific, and we'll see that change. And it's really important that we do. Again, don't believe, I see this all the time on Twitter, don't believe the propaganda that unions are worthless or outdated. They're not. They're the only people that are protecting you from the people who want to exploit you.
Yeah.
The CEOs don't give a shit about you. They never have. The unions do. And that's really important. Don't believe in that propaganda, please. It's really important.
Yeah, and it's partially the dearth of like good places to go, because so much animation isn't unionized.
Yeah.
And so many jobs aren't protected that like they have to work under those conditions because the other option is just not working.
Yeah.
Because like it's just so pervasive and like that everywhere. But if it also increases the competitive market, if more animation places are unionized and able to do that, then that means that there are better jobs out there. So other places have to either treat their workers better or allow the unionization as well.
Yeah. The VFX workers have mentioned this many times. It's a race to the bottom because none of them are unionized. So you find the lowest bidder, and the lowest bidder is often peanuts.
Yeah.
Because that's how low they're willing to go to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
But if they unionize, if they're all unionized, that's not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is kind of strike related. Strike adjacent, because Amazon Prime Video is raising their prices. They're going to be adding an ad tier, and will be raising their price to $17.99 for the ad-free tier. Basically, this means that all the streaming services now have ad tiers, and none of them are paying residuals.
Yeah, because
Right.
Netflix has one now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Netflix has one now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think everybody.
Yeah. So basically, well done. You've invented cable and pay your residuals.
Yeah. They reinvented cable.
You're getting your ad revenue now. The ad revenue is where most of your money came. It was where most of the cable money came from anyway.
Yeah.
Now you're making the ad revenue. Pay the residuals. It's that easy. Anyway,
Mhm.
I'm glad we've solved this,
seems that-
guys.
Seems that easy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you could argue that like a lot of the like Amazon's doing this because Amazon's prepared for the fact that they're going to have to.
Yes.
And that's because Amazon hasn't raised their prices in a long time. I don't remember the last time we talked about Amazon Prime raising their prices.
They're one of the few. I think they're one of two profitable streaming services at this point.
Also, Amazon Prime isn't just their video; you get Amazon.
That's why they're profitable, right? That's why
like,
Apple it's Apple TV Plus and Amazon Prime Video, because those aren't their main businesses. So they're very profitable because they can funnel money into it from their other more lucrative businesses.
Yeah.
Does Apple TV have an ad tier? I don't think it does.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
Oh, it's just like a one-time. It's like yeah. They're the good ones. Apple's slowly become the best. Pay your people.
It's because they have the money; they can just do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amazon. I'm not surprised, and I'm not even, other than like I want them to pay the residuals and everything. I'm not even that mad because again, like they haven't done a price hike in a long time. A lot of these other ones have been doing price hikes pretty frequently.
Yeah.
But Amazon hasn't done it for a while, so the fact that they're tacking on a $3 to have an ad tier, I'm like, no, this isn't surprising. And if it is just a preparatory tactic, knowing they're going to have to pay residuals, I'm like, fine. As long as you're paying them, I don't care.
Yeah. Big news happened for the striking workers is that the California Senate has approved a bill that will allow striking workers to get unemployment benefits.
Massively important. Huge. Yeah. And this can happen in other states now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you unemployment became a really important. I mean, unemployment has always been an important thing, but during the pandemic, they were able to funnel a lot of money into unemployment for people who are out of work to be paid while their jobs were off, and I benefited greatly from it. And at this up until now, striking workers could not get unemployment benefits, but now they can, and that's going to be so great. Like, if you're like, one of the biggest reasons why people don't go on strike is because they're worried about their income, and rightfully so. They should be. Like, it's tough. But now taking that out, like off their plate, oh my god, you guys, incredible.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the strike stuff. That's really all we know. Who knows? Maybe tonight the strike will be over, and we'll talk about it again, but we'll see. So let's move into some other fun stuff, shall we?
Yes.
All right. So a couple of audio adventures were announced the past couple of weeks. One is called Slayers, a Buffy story. There's going to be a new audio series coming to Audible. I don't think the entire cast is coming back, but they should say that everyone who's involved is from the original cast. So, like, probably Sarah Michelle Gellar. Anyway, this is going to follow Spike 20 years after the series finale of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so the original cast are reprising their role. So whoever's in this is probably Alyssa Hannigan. Obviously James Marsters will be the lead. But yeah, I thought this was kind of cool. More Buffyverse is kind of fun, especially in audio format. I'm really into audio dramas because of Doctor Who. Like, I really like the idea of doing like continuing stories in audio formats, because you don't have to worry about actors aging out of a role. So I just thought that was really cool. Coming out October 12th.
Yeah. I wonder what amount of the comics are canon to this event.
I was thinking the same thing. I don't think much.
Well, you gotta imagine like all of After the Fall, right?
The Angel one? Yeah, probably.
I mean, otherwise, how is Spike? You gotta like explain how Spike's there, because they went into hell at the end of the show.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, no matter what, the end of Buffy, the end of Angel season 5, they're in hell. So either that comic is canon or it's not. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to hear this. I think you should just do more audio adventures. Like, I've been screaming at the top of my lungs that Star Trek should do these more. Like, I think a great idea would be to like collect the TOS cast that you've done on Strange New Worlds and just put them in audio format and have them do just Star Trek adventures as those characters. It'd be a lot of fun. Get back to the original TNG.
Yes, Brandon has championed this on a Fake Nerds Watch you haven't listened to yet.
Oh yeah, well, also on Twitter. If you follow my Twitter, I've said it a few times. Yeah, very cool. But there's also a new one coming up on Spotify. for Batman, it's called The Riddler: Secrets in the Dark. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because they've cast Coleman Domingo from Sandman and a lot of other things as Batman.
Cool.
You guys, please look up Coleman Domingo because you'd be more excited about this if you.
No, I know who he is.
I know who he is.
haven't
I'm just like, there's like
Nope.
7 other Batman adventures I haven't listened to yet.
I'm hoping this. I'm hoping that he has a stronger take on the character than the only other Batman audio adventure I listened to, which is the one with Winston Duke.
Yeah,
where I think a lot of the audio cast, I thought Winston Duke was giving it, but his Batman didn't work for me. His Bruce Wayne did, but his Batman didn't.
Yeah, he him, Jeffrey Wright, Winston Duke. It's really cool that the 3 audio Batmen are black men.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to bring it up because I just
it's cool.
all right. Anyway, coming out October 10th on Spotify.
Well,
Comic book news.
It's my time to talk.
Alan Moore was in the news this week because he had asked DC to send all of his royalty checks for films and TV shows, which he is entitled to. He gets royalties from these things anyway, whether he likes it or not. But he's asking them to send them to Black Lives Matter rather than his home address. He said, I quote, "I don't really feel with the recent films that they have stood by what I assumed were their original principles." End quote.
Yeah. I love Alan Moore. I have multiple Alan Moore tattoos, so like I always respect his opinion on the way that his work has been either properly adapted or horribly adapted. Because I consider him probably the greatest comic writer of all time, and he doesn't just write regular comics; he writes like pieces of art. So like when you translate that into shitty movies, I understand getting mad about it.
Yeah.
Like I understand him not wanting to be involved in Watchmen, the TV show, which I do think is an incredible show. But like Damon Lindelof sent him a letter before the show started, and it was really like, "Hey, what's up? I'm the guy who's gonna mess your show up. I have a great idea for it." And I was just like, really gross. And thank God that show turned out good. But like, it was him trying to get like approval from Alan Moore, and Alan Moore is never gonna want to talk to anybody about adaptations about anything. So like, the fact that he's like, "I don't even want your money. Give it to an organization that actually like matters." I think that's incredible. Alan Moore's a great guy. Stop asking him questions about Watchmen.
There's a lot of things he could have chosen. The fact that he chose Black Lives Matter is just it's just a really cool optic.
Absolutely.
Like, where he sits and what his like opinion and current like take on where culture is at right now. And more than anything, not necessarily that like he learned something he didn't know, but the fact that he is like, I see where I think this should go most importantly. In a sense of like understanding that where it can be most valuable and what he feels is like one of the most important social issues that we're facing in the country. And I think that's just really cool.
Yeah,
that's where he directed it.
Yeah, he's like obviously an incredibly like liberal person. Like he's very much about all people and stuff. So
you
like
you see it in his work. The thing is like, he'll never like an adaptation no matter how good it is because he's been burned by DC. It's not Damon Lindelof's fault or Zack Snyder's fault. In his mind, it's DC's fault. Because Watchmen, the deal with Watchmen was that it was going to go back to him should it be out of print for a certain amount of time. And DC has never let it go out of print. In fact, they have done it to the point where it will never go back to him because of Doomsday Clock and how they've handled Rebirth and things like that. And he's pissed, and rightfully so. They screwed him.
Me too.
He should absolutely feel as upset he is and as burned by the comic book industry as he is, because the work for hire contracts that when he was working there, awful, and they're not that great now. Not
at all.
So it could be so like, it's really cool that instead of just like, we'll talk about this again with this next bit of news, but like, put your money where your mouth is, right? Like, I don't, you guys all suck. I don't want anything to do with you. Don't even give me my money.
Yeah.
Don't even give me the money you owe me. Just put it where it will actually do some good, which is here.
He's been a prolific writer for almost 50 years. So at this point, he doesn't need more money. So it's really cool that he's like, yeah, I don't need this. Give it to an organization that like can actually use it. It's incredible.
It's like that meme where it's like, I will pay you $100 to F off.
Yes.
And he's telling DC to F off and give his money to other people. So I'm like,
I don't want to be associated with y'all anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is that. Like, he's just so. The reason why you see him do like his masterclass. The reason why he's got this like era of a crotchety old man is not that he is a crotchety old man. It's because we keep bugging him about, oh, but do you like the Damon Lindelof Watchmen? Oh, but what about the new League of Extraordinary Gentlemen TV series? No, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Stop asking him about I bet you ask him about the stuff that he's actually passionate about, the stuff that he loves, he'll glow. But we don't.
I
We keep
retweeted
trying to
something
get
recently
these
about-
we keep trying to get these like clickbait shit from him, and that's why he's so bitchy. And
Yeah,
rightfully so.
Yeah, 100%. I retweeted something that he talked about how he met a demon once when he was on drugs, and it's like one of the most like eloquently poetic things I've ever read. I'm like, dude could be writing like a shampoo bottle, and it'll be the greatest thing I've ever written. Like, truly.
Yeah.
Like I love him, and the older I get, the more I understand his like, y'all, F all of you, F all y'all. I'll give you something great, and you guys won't even respect it. He's a great guy. I love that old wizard.
Speaking of putting my money where your mouth is, Ben, you're a pretty big fan of Fables, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I was a pretty big fan. I was very hot on it when I was reading the trades. Because I think I was just trying to get something of the Once Upon a Time itch scratched, and Fables was doing it.
Absolutely.
You can say you're a fan. Like I know
I-
you've got all those volumes.
I have all the trades. I loved the game Wolf Among Us. I am actually very excited for Wolf Among Us 2.
Well, Ben,
yeah.
good news. You could write your own Fables, and it's completely legal.
I saw that, and
So-
I'm actually kind of shocked about it, to be perfectly honest.
Bill Willingham, the creator of Fables and the sole owner of Fables, has put Fables within the public domain, which is not something I actually thought could happen. But I guess there's no reason why it couldn't. He consulted with lawyers, and he consulted with his contracts, and he said that, like, yeah, it's now in the public domain. It's yours, as talking to us, the people. And he's like, if you want to do Fables movie, you want to do a Fables TV series, nothing I or DC can do can stop you.
Yeah.
DC will try. I'm sure DC will send some cease and desist letters, be like, we own Fables, which is why this happened, by the way. So this happened because Bill Willingham, we know that Fables was coming back. We talked about it a couple of years ago, that Fables was coming back for like his 20th anniversary or whatnot. And he was apparently what had happened was that the lawyers at DC said, we're doing this as a courtesy. We want you to come back. And he's like, why is this courtesy? I'm the only one who can write this book. And they didn't know that they didn't own Fables. That it was and to be fair, it's weird because Fables is a creator-owned book published through DC Comics. That's pretty rare for DC to do. But it is in fact the case. And so Bill Willingham wrote this whole thing, and I read this whole thing on Substack where he was talking about like why this has happened, why he was frustrated with DC, that the people who are running DC right now are not men with integrity anymore, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. And he himself believes that after about 20 or 30 years, everything should be in the public domain. So that's what he did. He put it in the public domain. He put his money where his mouth is, and he said, this is it. Now, if he wants to do Fables, it's got to be through DC because that's what his contract is. But because now Fables is in the public domain, if I wanted to make a Fables, if the artist of Fables wanted to do Fables, they can do that. They can do that. We can do that. That's just legal now. We want to make a Fables movie. Hey guys, Fickner Podcast is doing a Fables fan film. It's not a fan film. It's a real movie now. That's perfectly legal. And I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. My question isn't like a Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf, isn't that like all in the public domain already? That like those original ideas?
Yes.
Yes.
Now it's just in the context specifically what he built with Fables, but yes.
Yes. So like this is incredible. It's not like Star Wars is in the public domain.
No, absolutely not. And don't trivialize this, by the way. Like this
is
still
a big deal.
Not. The thing is like we've talked about this before. Bill Willingham was trying to play NBC and ABC into a bidding war to make a Fables TV series, but when both of them realized what was happening, they realized all these characters are public domain anyway. We can do whatever we want. We can do Once Upon a Time. We do Grimm. That's what these characters are in the public domain. However, what is not in the public domain is how they are used in Fables. It's much like what's happened with Winnie the Pooh, right? Winnie the Pooh is in the public domain, but you give Winnie the Pooh a red shirt, that's Disney. Steamboat Willie will be in the public domain, but not Mickey Mouse, for example. Like so within the context of this, like, you're right, it's not Star Wars. Star Wars will never be in the public domain, and that's what he talked about. The public domain laws are so fucked at this point that there's there's nothing that's going to be in the public domain that should be in the public domain. We have these public domain heroes like Sherlock Holmes and all the Grimm fairy tale characters, all the Peter Pans, like all those stuff in the public domain. King Arthur, we'll never get that anymore. Characters that are created now, Superman will probably never be in the public domain because Warner Bros. will make the law skew the law to hell until it happens.
Yeah.
But while Fables isn't a Star Wars level thing, this is still and Bill Willingham, admittedly, not a great guy.
No.
But this is still a really cool thing to do for someone to be like, you know what? Screw DC. And what does Alan Moore just do? Screw DC. DC, the people who run DC are not good men right now. And I don't want anything to do with them. So I'm doing this to do something good with the property that I created. I just thought that was really cool.
It is very cool. It's such a cool precedent, hopefully.
Yeah, and the way that Bill, because once again, I've read all of Fables, and there are parts of Fables that I really enjoy, and there are times where I'm reading like I would love to see like a side story, or I would like to see a mini series about a certain character set with.
You can write it now.
Yeah, like one of the characters, Cinderella, like the Fables version of Cinderella, she's a secret agent. She goes around and she wrecks people's shit. It's really cool to see her go out in action. The Frog Prince, who was a character that I wasn't really like, it's the Frog Prince. He gets hit by a princess and then he turns into a handsome prince. He is like the most humble person in the entire book. And it's like this, I love this dude. And now we can actually do this without any fear of like the hammer coming down. I mean, look, I understand that Bill Williams, I'm not the biggest fan. Obviously, I'm not big. I like his work, but I don't like his politics. But I will not lie. This has given me or earned him a little bit more respect for me, because the fact that he's just like, look, I know that these versions of the characters are mine, but you all can do whatever you want with it. I think that's actually a really cool thing to do.
A lot of this came back from he was just tired of chasing residuals, because he never got paid for the Telltale game. There was a movie that was in pre-production, but he never got a cent from it, and he was just tired of chasing them down for that money that he was owed. So he was just, how do you not pay him for the Telltale game? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that they never did pay him for the Telltale game, because it's Fables. Like, if you put the name Fables on, it's like Bill Williams created these characters.
That Telltale game is like the most popular Telltale game ever made.
One of them, yeah. There's one other thing I was gonna say. Shoot, damn it, I lost it.
That's all right.
Bye.
Yeah, I just again, like anything that screws over a giant corporation is fine by me.
Oh, I remember my point now.
Yeah.
How funny is it that DC forgot that they don't own the rights to Fables outright?
They didn't. No, I don't believe for a second they didn't. I think they were trying to strong arm the rights from him by claiming innocence, because they used to say that fell through the cracks because they didn't give him cover art approval. There were certain things that they wouldn't do, that he kept trying to be like, hey, you can't do that, and they'd be like, oh right, sorry, it just fell through the cracks. I think what happened was, and he also thinks this, but which is likely because there's no way that the lawyers went into that deal without reading that contract. We're saying that like, oh yeah, we own this. I think they were trying to convince him that this is ours.
Because I thought we were about to get into like an Archie Comics Penn Teller not Penn and Teller, that's the magician. Ken Pender's situation. Because Archie, like you said, DC, bigger company, better lawyers. Archie Comics, not as big a company, not as good of lawyers. Because if you guys, I remember talking about this a while ago, but Archie screwed up with one of the writers of the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, where he literally lost a copy of his work for hire contract. And because Archie couldn't produce an actual copy of the contract when it was first signed, Ken Penders took the rights to his characters back from Archie and Sega. And Sega got so pissed at Archie that it eventually halted that. That's how they stopped publishing Sonic comics with Archie Comics, and they went to IDW and essentially just redid the whole thing.
Thanks, Ken Penders.
Yeah. Anyway. Screw over big companies. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They have the money. They'll be fine.
For real. Like, seriously. All right. Let's talk about some Marvel comics, though.
Yes.
These are actually like announcements now. Guys, I don't know how to tell you this. Mark Spector is dying.
Again?
Well, I guess
What do you mean
technically
again?
again. Well, I mean, he died the first time he died. He became the Fist of Khonshu.
I guess that's technically true.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so the death of Moon Knight is coming in Jed MacKay. And Jed MacKay's current run of Moon Knight is going to start at issue 28. We'll be on for 3 issues to issue 30. But yeah, it's going to detail the final story of Mark Spector. It's going to be his death. They were pretty clear that like it's a comic book, so like nobody figured he was going to be dead forever. But like this is actually going to lead into another story from Mark Spector, as well as Vengeance of Moon Knight, which is going to be a new title spinning off of it with a new #1 written by Jed MacKay with art by Alessandro Cappuccio. And this is going to be a new person taking over as the Fist of Khonshu. Hunter's Moon taking over as Moon
That's a
Knight.
character who's been in the books from like the beginning. Yeah, it's like another Moon Knight basically.
And yeah, now he will be Moon Knight. So it's going to be 2 parallel. It sounds like it's going to be 2 parallel stories: one of the new living Moon Knight and one of the dead Moon Knight. So
yeah, I'm into it. Jed MacKay has been truly killing it on that book. It's one of like honestly one of Marvel's best books, and specifically with that art team, like it's consistently like one of the best looking books too. I trust Jed MacKay. He's the one who killed Doctor Strange and brought him back in less than a year, so I'm not worried, honestly. This is probably going to be a great book, but just like every cyclical cycle of comic books, like Mark Spector will have a new #1 in probably like a year, you know. But that's fine, honestly. Like as long as the books are good, I don't care.
Yeah, there's kind of a. I liked it. I liked it better when I didn't see a death of a comic book character like every year. It sounds like every year we're talking about this.
This year multiple, and there's like big pushes like, yo, new comic book, we're killing a character. Like that's the premise. It's not a secret anymore. It doesn't happen at the end of an arc anymore. We're told in advance to get excited for it.
Yeah. Who's writing Amazing Spider-Man right now?
Zeb Wells.
Zeb Wells. Miss Marvel, obviously dead.
Yeah.
Well, back now, but still, like we know like Ryan's like we know that these deaths are coming in advance so that we can get excited about them, buy these issues and so they can sales. And like there's so many now. I don't blame anyone for believing like they've lost their weight, because they have. I do prefer it when they're pretty clear. It's like for Moon Knight, death is just the next step in the story. Yes. Rather than to be like, this is going to be really important and we're going to kill her and we're going to kill this person.
That's a good point. This isn't as egregious because again, like the character's relationship with death, but it is like, we just killed Doctor Strange. We just killed Miss Marvel. We're going to kill Moon Knight. And I'm like, all right, okay. We like death in this year in the Marvel house.
Yeah, I do think that this one works better just by the nature of the character and knowing even up front as they're saying, we're killing him. But it's we're killing him because it's how he's going on a journey into the next thing, which reminds me a lot of like when Ghost Rider dies. You know, like Ghost Rider dies, but Ghost Rider doesn't die.
Oh, or even like the Moon Knight TV show, which we're not allowed to talk about, so pretend I'm not talking about it, but like that episode where he is dead and he's hanging out with the hippo lady. Like I'll read a whole comic about that shit. That's cool.
Right. And I think that plays differently, and just like being upfront about it from the get. Like it's not like we got a Moon Knight is dying weeks to tell another story.
Yes.
It's just like, no, we're killing him, but we're killing him because that's how he's going on this next part of a journry.
Yeah. It's not like, ending with his death.
It's like Immortal Hulk in a way. Like the great thing about Immortal Hulk was that it kind of took the power away from a death in a comic book character.
Absolutely.
Because we knew that if this character died, he'd come back. And death wasn't the crux of the drama within that story. There was something else.
Or even just the first time in the new Krakoa era when the X-Men die, and like, you know, that was oh shit, and then they're back, and it's like, yeah, because this is how this is changing in the story and all this kind of thing, without like totally throwing you
Yeah.
and making death feel unimportant. It's important, but it's important for a different reason.
Yes, yeah, and that's what I honestly that's what is interesting. Besides, like, you know, we're gonna kill Miss Marvel.
Which frankly, I think just like more comics need to do.
Yeah, because like we know death is like, it's one, inevitable, but two, it's not long lasting. So like,
well, and I think the other thing that gets me is that like a concept of afterlife exists in both the major publishers, DC and Marvel.
Yeah.
So the idea that like there's so many different reasons, and I think like the X-Men and Moon Knight are good examples of recent time where there's a reason to kill a character to tell a story about what happens to them that is part of like there can be a growth through a character going through that experience, even if they're going to come back to life later.
look at the Crucible with Apocalypse. He killed one of the young Guthrie's, Arrow, to get her powers back.
Yeah.
And that's like, yo, he murdered a teenage girl, but that's what she wanted. That's heavy, dude. That's heavy shit.
That happens with Johnny Blaze more than once. But I think that's
when
more
Hickman killed him, though, that was incredible.
But that's more the direction that the comics need to go in.
Oh, Blaze.
Then yeah, I knew who you were.
I heard Johnny.
Yeah, that's more the direction comics should go in, because we always know it's impermanent, especially under the big two publishers. And if you go on a direction where it's like, yeah, we're killing them, but there's a purpose to the killing of the story, rather than just like putting someone else in the spot.
Yeah.
And just jumping up a new number one and continuing but like even like Peter's death in Ultimate Spider-Man to bring in Miles Morales, like that didn't just like put a new person in the spot, that like changed the functionality of the world and altered the story of how things were going. And I think as long as you're doing something like that, that's more the direction we want comics to go in, is this exact kind of thing where it's like we're doing it to tell a story about how that character connects to the afterlife, or what this means for the journey for them ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Original X-Men was going to be a one-shot, supersized one-shot, as they call it, written by Christos Gage with art by Greg Land. That's fun. And we'll see the original 5 X-Men called forth to tackle a new multiversal mystery.
Y'all, if you want to see X Twitter have the least positive response to a comic announcement, this is the one. One, because Greg Land does art, and Greg Land is the dude who traces porn actors and all of his, like, his art's awful. His like when he does like metal, anything that's not human faces, he's great. But unfortunately, comic books star people. So Greg Land kind of sucks. Christos Gage is a really great writer. I like him most of the time. He did a lot of TV work for, like, he did like Avengers and like Spider-Man. He's like a TV writer guy too. So like, this is like cool one shot about the OG X-Men, and honestly, that's like the least popular version of the X-Men. Like the original Stanley X-Men comics, spoiler guides, are not good. They didn't get good. The book got canceled before it got good. A lot of people don't even know that. So like, there's not a lot here for me. I don't care about that original team. I read the Bendis era where it was all of them for like 5 years, and like, I don't need to see those 60s characters again, especially if it's just like a one shot with bad art. So like, I'm happy for y'all if you want to read, not you guys, like the X people want to read this, but like no one really cares about this. We're in the Krakoa era. This is not what any of us really want, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Krakoa era, next month at New York City Comic Con, Marvel is going to have their Marvel's Next Big Thing panel. We already know some of the titles that they're going to talk about. We don't have any information on what these titles are. However, we do have some creative teams. So, Fall of the House of X, written by Jerry Duggan, with art by Lucas Wernick, and Rise of the Powers of X, written by Kieran Gillen, with art by R.B. Silva.
God, that's such an incredible team for the sadness that's happening.
And also, with that will also come The Resurrection of Magneto, written by Al Ewing, with art by Luciano Vecchio.
Hell yeah. I'm going to talk about character deaths real quick. Spoiler alert for like an 8-month comic now. Magneto died this year, and it's the coolest character death I've experienced in a comic in a long time. His fall was insane, in the coolest, dude. Again, I told you, like, Storm gave him a magnetic heart to keep him alive while he battled the world. It's great shit, and he died beautifully. I would never want him to come back unless it's written by Al Ewing, the guy who killed him, because Al Ewing is a poet, specifically with Magneto. It's just the greatest shit. So like, you need Magneto to come back. He is one of the biggest X-Men. So like, he hasn't been gone like a whole year yet, but that's okay. Again, everyone comes back. It's X-Men. Sorry, real quick. During this event when Magneto died, he didn't have the Krakoa protection. So like, all the mutants, if they died, they can actually die. So Magneto did die. So him coming back is like a big deal. Scarlet Witch made The Waiting Room. That was the miniseries, The Trial of Magneto. she basically made limbo for people who've died and they're waiting to be resurrected, so they can actually kind of be alive in limbo. So I think that's maybe what they're going to try to do. They're kind of incorporate Scarlet Witch stuff with Magneto. We'll see, but it's Al Ewing, so I'm super excited.
The fall of House of X and rise of Powers of X kind of implies that the Krakoa era is an end.
So yeah, the Krakoa era is ending, but people, they're never going back to the mansion. They're never going back to the old school way of doing things. That is so reductive, and the amount of progress we've made, not just as like what the X-Men are, but who they can become. Like, we cannot go back to, Wolverine's teaching physical education anymore. There's no world we can go back to that. The Krakoa era is the biggest singular comic success in the last couple of years in terms of relaunches.
It hasn't been for a number of years now.
Not for the last year. But dude, like Sins of Sinister, all the events we talked about, all those were huge sellers. Like, those comics still sell really well. They're not, obviously, we are 4 years into it now. It's not the thing it was. All the X-Men books still sell like pretty well compared to previously. We're not going to get rid of like this stuff with Resurrection might go away. All that stuff might go away, but like we are not regressing back to the things that we used to be. We have progressed too far. It's like getting rid of all of Batman's sidekicks or his kids. Like once you progress far enough, you can't regress a character anymore. Only Spider-Man gets to do that.
So I think you're right about they're not regressing anything. Obviously not. No, the X-Men has never really regressed like that in a number of years. However, I was looking at the numbers, and the thing is, these new miniseries for the fall of X, the Sins of Sinister, Judgment Day, the fact that they're the only thing that was selling really well have been the two ongoings, which were Wolverine and X-Force, because those kept consistent. Those have been consistent numberings.
X-Men, the core X-Men book,
it hasn't been selling very well.
Okay.
There unfortunately, between Judgment Day, Sins of Sinister, and the Fall of X, these things just got too confusing for people, too unwieldy for readers, and a lot of them jumped off, and that's to be expected. 4 years into the thing, look, we're almost 5 years into this run.
Yeah,
a lot of runs like this would be happy to have a 5-year run like this.
Absolutely. Hey, how many comics are about to hit issue 50 at Marvel or DC, and how many of those are X-Men comics?
How many?
It's like 3 or 4, because Percy has been writing X-Men or X-Force and Wolverine for almost 50 issues. X-Men would have been 50 if they didn't relaunch it, because it's up to 25 now.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, the ones that were consistent have been X-Force and Wolverine. Yeah. And that's been really cool, because those are really good books. I really like those books. Outside of that, it's gotten really confusing for people to keep invested, because they keep relaunching with new minis and they keep trying to interweave all these things, and that's fine. It happens. And so there is going to be, the reason why they are doing this is it does seem very likely that there is going to be a reset of some sort. I don't think it's a reductive reset like a lot of people are saying. And I'm not saying that. Don't even believe that I am, but it will be a reset, and it will, whatever is next will be to pare it down, bring it back to something that people can jump onto again. And whether or not they're still on Krakoa, that's only interesting. We don't know anything about that yet. And we won't know anything until New York Comic Con next year. Yeah. So we can only speculate.
I just know, like, there will be a reset. It will not be as probably. There will still be a lot of X-Men comics there, because, again, Brevoort is now the X-Men editor, and he's been the Avengers editor for the last 20 years. So, like, the X-Men push is going to be harder than it's ever been, but it is going to be a reset. But Tom Brevoort is such an exceptional editor. He knows how good the Krakoa era is. He's not putting those kids back into school, and it's just going to be like the same 5 X-Men we talk about. Like, they have unlocked something with this new era that can never be put back in a box. And yeah, it will be reset, but like, we cannot go back to just Professor X fights Magneto, because that is so boring. We are done with those 60s X-Men.
I would really like to see them actually feel like they have a plan again. That's why I'm not opposed to this at all, because I don't think that the X-Men series have felt like they've been doing anything but spinning their wheels. And
I will say, I don't think since Hickman left, they have not had a concrete plan. But I think that is, and I'm not saying you're saying this negatively, but it is a little dismissive, because Sins of Sinister, Judgment Day, all these events have been good. They are not bad events. They might not have sold well, but all these books are still good. Are they confusing for people trying to jump on? Sure, but these books are still good. Like none of these books are horrible, in my opinion.
wasn't
And I think a
saying
lot
that.
of people agree. No, yeah. I'm just like, this era has done so well, and yet it has been 5 years, so like the numbers won't be. They're selling millions of copies like they used to. Like that's just infinite growth situation. But they unlocked something where again, like this era might end, but we are not going to go back to what the X-Men looked like in 2005. Like this is we are in a new era, thankfully. And I'm just really excited that we are here. And I know Brevoort is not going to go, all right, we're going to get rid of all this cast, all the Iraqi. We're just going to get rid of all of them. Mars, we have an entire planet full of mutants. We're just going to get rid of that. All the years of building up to planet-sized X-Men, of them terraforming a planet, give them godlike powers, we're going to get rid of all that. I don't believe that. They are setting up the X-Men to be bigger than they've ever been, and they will not get rid of Krakoa. Will them being immortal gods, that will probably go away for the movies, honestly. But like them being the biggest in the universe will still be there.
This isn't to you or to anybody here, but anybody who thinks that is the case, that they would get rid of Iraqi or the things like that, is frankly an idiot.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the only reason why I brought up those numbers is because Marvel is a company who wants big numbers, and so I wasn't saying that Judgment Day, Sins of Sinister, Fall of X were difficult for new people. I was saying they were difficult for people who are reading, who have been reading since the beginning, and have decided that they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to jump on anymore, and I get it, I really do. And Marvel want a big launch, which is why Tom Brevoort is coming in, and they're going to do a big launch. They're going to do a big launch. This is going to be huge, like Ryan said. This is going to be huge. What that looks like, we only can speculate at this point.
Yep.
I think more importantly than anything is that just needing to get the number of titles back down again, just for getting readers to jump on point, to bring a reader base back to the X-Men. And like you said, like it will be some sort of a reset. I think paring down the titles that they will inevitably do is going to bring readers back in and have them reading it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that like even if the books are good, like I do think that there's just been like, damn, that line got saturated quick. And like
it's because
wanting to jump into it. And
it's because at the beginning everybody was buying 12 books.
Right.
And that's not sustainable for 5 years.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is like, and it's unfortunate because it's so hard because the X-Men world is so massive.
It is its own universe.
Within Marvel.
Yeah.
And this has really accentuated how many different things and stories you can tell when you allow these characters to not all be the background of 6 main characters.
And
that's the prominent thing. And like, I think we're going to see a little bit more diversification. I think we might see more of like, these titles might happen in their own minis, but ones that are going to be, they're not going to feel the pressure to keep them as connected, and be like, if these are characters that we know readers really like, that can move outside of the main X-Men story, and not necessarily like, there are mutants everywhere, and we can tell a mutant story that's not necessarily an X-Men story. And I think that's kind of the direction that's going to be more possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think in the long run of comics, we are going to end up back at the mansion. However, I think contextually how that'll happen is that none of our characters who have ever been at the mansion before are going to be there.
I really hope so.
I think it would be
a brand new class.
Well, in the sense that like, I think that there will be an opportunity to tell a story for kids who do want like that school life experience, ones who are mutants and want that, and Xavier kind of in a nostalgia way wanting that for someone. So essentially gives the school to new mutant teachers who we've never had there before. And I think there is inevitably in the long run of comics, that's a story you're going to want to revisit for nostalgia purposes.
Sure.
But I believe fully that like none of our main X-Men characters are the people who go back to that school to teach or any of it. I think that becomes like a new generation entirely of like who this is gifted to, as an opportunity for them to have that kind of educational system and upbringing and safe space for mutants, that it does exist. In the broader spectrum of the mutant stories they're telling.
No, because they are segregated. Like that is the thing. So that is a great point. Like I do like that idea of they can bring back to school. I just don't want that to be the focus again. Because specifically, like I know you guys are really behind, but like Charles Xavier, he is not someone who will ever run a school again.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
He has gone, the amount of shit he's gone through, like Krakoa is the dream. So to regress back to, I'm going to give up my dream, is just like a really like a regressive way to look at Xavier and the things he's had to go through to become where he is now. And I just don't want him to be the dude just in a wheelchair. Oh, hello, students. Because like We are past that, dude. People have this idea of the X-Men and it's the X-Men Fox movies, and we need to get past it. I'm being honest. Like, X-Men has not been that for 20 years. It hasn't been that. There hasn't been a school in a long time. And when it comes back, it gets blown up immediately. People live in the X-Men Fox world and they need to get out of it. And I'm glad that's why Krakoa has been so popular, luckily.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are. I think all of us are with you on that one. I don't think any of us were saying otherwise. Yeah, I just yeah, all right.
I'm just saying, as
Avengers-
someone real quick, like, going to school is probably inevitability.
Yeah.
As someone who has read all X-Men comics for like basically the past 20 years, that school has become less and less important because it is so restrictive of what the X-Men are.
Right.
They are about going out and being accepted by everyone. And when you are in a school being scared of people, that is why Cyclops in House of X is so powerful. Like, you think I was just going to sit around and let this happen to us? They can never go back to that again. It's so regressive.
That's again why I think like it's important to, with the line going forward, and I do think what they'll inevitably end up doing is extending the concept of mutant-based storytelling that's not X-Men-based storytelling.
Yeah.
And like that's the separation. So like that school will come back, that will be mutant-based storytelling.
Yeah.
But the X-Men won't be there. And I think that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that because you have diversified and broadened out the spectrum of like how many mutants are there and how are they connected, and like that there are characters that we can follow. Like Exterminators is a great example of like
That's an X-Men book, baby.
none of our traditional typical X-Men heroes that we're following in it, but it's a great book. And so like there's other characters in there who would fall in the line of like you could put them back in the school and you could put them in this opportunity, and there's a room to tell a story there and do things there that is not the X-Men.
Children of the Vault is a book that's out, a miniseries right now by Dennis Camp, the writer of 20th Century War, a book we recently, 20th Century Men.
Yes.
And that book is incredible, and that is dealing with really important topics, and it features no X-Men characters you guys know because it's all about the Children of the Vault.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a book that would never exist in a regular X-Men era.
Sure.
Because you need to build up and you need to have faith. And we've dealt with the Children of the Atom for years at this point in the Hickman era. So like it's a natural progression. Like this is a really good book that would not exist. And honestly, a lot of people are reading it because they don't give it a chance. And that is just a thing of like, too many characters. Sorry, I talked about this too long. Thank you, Brandon.
That's fine. Avengers Twilight, Chip Zdarsky, art by Daniel Acuna. It's another book that will be announced at New York City Comic Con.
This is an incredible art team. Chip Zdarsky has never written a bad comic book. I don't care what you Batman fans have to say. That book's still good. This is going to be just a fun like miniseries. Like he's not taking over Avengers. It's just like, it's what he does. He writes great miniseries that aren't the main title.
I'm calling it right now. The masked villain is Angel. I'm gonna say that right out. Twilight.
No.
Come on, y'all.
Twilight Angel.
We talked about Buffyverse comics already.
Bro, I haven't watched a lot of Buffy.
Brandon knows what I'm talking about.
That's the comic. That's season 8.
Yeah.
That's the comic.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get your.
For all of Buffy season 8, there was this big buildup of who's this masked person who's messing with Buffy, and their name is Twilight, and they have a mask that's like a Twilight symbol on it, and at the end it's Angel.
Oh.
And he was doing all the thing Buffy.
And they have
sure.
superpowers, and they fly through space, and they have sex in space.
Wow, vampires, great.
It's some real Joss Whedon on his own bullshit there.
Did
Sounds
not
like
like that arc. Did not like that season at all. Ultimate Spider-Man. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I enjoyed it until I found out who it was. then it really went up its own ass.
Ultimate Spider-Man is coming back, written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by Marco Cicchetto.
This is probably the wildest thing I've heard in my entire life, to be honest. Because Hickman has famously said, much like Chip Zdarsky, I will never write the main Spider-Man comic. I do not want to deal with those people. I love Spider-Man, never doing it. He wrote a tweet last month saying, I have finally been given the chance to write a character I've always wanted to, but I never actually had the ability to. And this is what he's talking about. He's writing Spider-Man. Who is he writing? That's a great effing question. Because it could be Miles, it could be Peter, it could be a different Peter in a new Ultimate Universe. Like we don't know. I don't know. And it's really exciting because again, Hickman is back at Marvel full force, like taking over the Ultimates line, doing gods. Like he's back. And I'm like, Marco Cicchetto is one of the great talents. Like, oh my God, he's been on Daredevil as Zdarsky for a long time. This is exceptional. Jonathan Hickman, we've read his X-Men. He's a very like thoughtful, like depthful writer. He's also really funny, and he doesn't get to write comedy a lot. If you're at Secret Wars, he wrote a lot of Spider-Man in Secret Wars, and he's really funny. Miles Morales is the one who saves the universe because he has a burger in his pocket. This is awesome. I'm so happy the Ultimate Universe is back. I can't wait to dive all the way into it back again next year.
The only thing we know is that this will be in the new Reborn Ultimate Universe that the maker just made. So
I only
we'll
read
see what
that
happens.
first issue, so I gotta get back to it.
I gotta
All right.
get into it at all.
Yep. I love comic books.
Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Ben's like, it's my time. I've been
My time.
waiting. Fuck comics.
No, I'm just like very out of the comic book loop nowadays. So it's
This
Yeah.
is where I check out now, and I let
When
you
I
guys.
I was still listening. I was still listening during the comic book talk. I mean, also I want to talk,
And I will still listen to your video game talk. I will just not engage with it.
Yeah, I mean, I did look up the Greg Land bit earlier when we were talking about him doing X-Men. I was like, ugh, yeah, I could see why people don't like him all that much.
He's
Yeah.
the Tracer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does the
Tracer of porn
he does the O faces.
Mhm. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So the Nintendo had a direct on these past few weeks. I would say it was a more chill direct, not a lot of major announcements, but there are two. I mean, there's some like, hey, some more RPGs are coming to the system. Some other games are coming that were. I think there was this one that was originally on the Nintendo 3DS that's finally making its way not only to North America, but they're bringing like both games onto one cartridge, which is cool. But there are two games that took the internet by storm. The first one being F-Zero 99. This is technically the first new F-Zero game since F-Zero GX for the GameCube
Like 20
20
years.
some years ago.
It's messed up. That's messed up.
It is messed up. Or maybe there was the F-Zero game for the Game Boy Advance. Either way, there hasn't been a new F-Zero game in a decade and a half plus.
Yep.
So the fact that F-Zero is getting the 99 treatment, which kind of sounds a little bit odd, but I've been seeing a lot of people, especially big F-Zero fans on Twitter, talking about how F-Zero 99 is really good and it's really well done, even with the 99 format. So does anyone here have any experience with F-Zero at all?
Yeah. I watched a bunch of streamers play this game. It looks really, it's, they did what is it, Tetris 99, Mario 99.
Yeah.
Like this is like the next step in that.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. I'm not
I love a good Falcon punch.
Falcon punch. It is the old school game, so like I'm not particularly interested in it. But it looks really cool. It's cool that it exists.
I'll be honest. I like F-Zero. I'm more interested in something new.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like something truly new.
Yeah. I mean, although once again, there's like a little bit of hope because if this does, I mean, because this has gotten some traction, a lot of people are getting a lot of praise online. So maybe because I know there's this one guy who actually became a Nintendo stockholder and he has a really big stake in the company. And he did it just because he was like, I want a new F-Zero game. And now that I'm a shareholder, I'm telling you to do to make a new F-Zero
He's
game.
like that. He's like that guy who you see the like post about. He went to work on the at the video game company to fix a bug that was going on in the system, and he went in and he fixed it himself, and then he put in his 2 weeks notice immediately.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, but F-Zero 99, it's getting. I have it downloaded. It's free just for anyone listening and who doesn't know. It's if you have the Nintendo Switch Online service, it's free to download. The main fear is that Nintendo will pull the plug on this one, like they did with Mario 35.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case, and I hope that this sticks around because Tetris 99 that's still going on strong. But Pac-Man 99 did get pulled, and that was Namco. Bandai Namco decided to make this. I guess they just didn't have the player base and wasn't raking in the numbers like a game like Tetris is.
Yeah.
I did play Pac-Man 99. I thought it was really fun. I had a good time with it. That was the only 99 game I actually won a few rounds, whereas Tetris I only got to like third or second place. But I do hope F-Zero sticks around a lot longer, and hopefully Nintendo has also learned their lesson from like, hey, here's this franchise that everyone really likes, and a lot of people are really enjoying it. It's getting attention on stream. Oh, it's only going to be around for a few months, and we're going to pull the plug. So hopefully that
I have a
doesn't happen
feeling
with F-Zero.
because this is a Nintendo product, it'll probably, because it's not like a Namco, it's just a Nintendo, right? They made this one.
Yeah.
So I think this will probably stick around then.
Well, that's what people were hoping for Mario 35. They're still championing for Mario 35 to make its return. But the big,
that's so weird.
Yeah, once again, that was like during the Mario 35th anniversary thing where a lot of stuff Nintendo was doing was like, really?
Oh, they
doing
did like
that.
the limited run physical thing.
Yes.
Yeah, all that stupid. Yeah, they were just
Yeah, not only limited run physical, but limited run digital on the store. It's like, why? And then either way, that's neither here nor there. The biggest news to come out of the direct was, of course, at the very, very end. Fans have been championing for this game to be remade, re-released on modern consoles, and they're finally doing it. The GameCube classic Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is officially getting a remake for the Nintendo Switch coming out next year, and everyone is collectively losing their shit. I am one of them, because I have been told time and time again that Paper Mario: Thousand-Year Door is the best Paper Mario. It is the best Mario RPG ever made. We're getting Super Mario RPG Remake later this year. And the fact that they're finally making it for modern consoles and it's available, because if you were to go out and buy that game physical today, you're losing about $200 some because that sucker is expensive with a capital E.
I saw $1,000 one on Twitter, and someone's like, "Yo, this is ridiculous."
Yeah.
This is my favorite Mario game. Thousand-Year Door, I think it's a perfect game. I think the first Paper Mario is exceptional, and then they made a better version of that. I wish the Paper Mario franchise is my favorite Mario game franchise.
It's really cool.
They made them less RPG like, or later on they made like Super Paper Mario and the
Super
Oregon
Paper Mario for the Super Paper Mario for the Wii, which fans were like, on.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. But like the traditional, it's turn based. It's exploratory, almost Metroidvania. We were getting new things to help you unlock other things. Like, it is so clever. It is one of the funniest. Like those Paper Mario games are exquisitely written. Like really sharp. So I'm so excited. It's been so long since I played those games. And I devoured those games.
I'm really excited about this because I really enjoyed that game on the GameCube when I played it. So that's really awesome. It is something where I'm gonna be a little bit of a wet blanket, which is really not about this game. It's more about Nintendo as a whole.
Yeah,
which is like, if we just had goddamn backwards compatibility, nobody would be losing their shit over any of it. It's true. No, we're so regularly coming back here for Nintendo Directs where it's like, can you believe that they're bringing back the GameCube game for the Switch? And I'm like, wow, that's really neat. Other consoles just do that.
I got an Xbox. I can play everything. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I'm a little tired of Nintendo Directs.
Yeah,
almost living and dying on most.
So here's the thing. This is probably going to be because, but I don't know how much you saw of this, but most of this Direct was remakes and remasters.
Oh yeah.
I
noticed it.
We are in the 7th year of the Switch. That console's dying. The Switch 2 the reports are out. The Switch 2 is in developer hands. They are actively working on Switch 2 games right now. So this is the last year of the Switch, I believe. I think we are getting the announcement of the Switch 2 next year. Because if you watch the Direct, most of these games are old games and remasters. The big announcement is a game from 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited for it, but he's right. Nintendo is the only company that I'm excited to buy a game again because they don't let me play it.
Well, and the other problem I have with this is that we know there are decent to good, depending on which game it is, available versions of older Nintendo games on the Switch. They're just locked behind the paywall of a subscription service, and I'm like, these should also just be available on the store. You should get them for free through the service, but they should also just be digital purchases. You can just get the game on the store and have it. This doesn't make sense why we're operating this stupid model when you clearly have such a rabid fan base. You would only make more money by selling these digital
Nintendo
copies.
Really is the most backwards company because everybody loves Nintendo, and even when they make huge mistakes, we will still always go back to Nintendo because they're the only person who do what they do. They're the Mario people. No one else does Mario like Mario, right? But they're living always 10 years in the past in terms of everything. The way their catalog works, the way their online service works is wow, this is PS3. This is so old school. What are we doing?
And also to Sparks' credit, because he's just put these games on Switch or just upscale them or do where for the 1,000-Year Door remake, I'm totally fine with them upscaling the graphic because they made it clear this is a remake, not a port. The 3D All Stars collection, those were ports. This is 100% remake, so it's gonna look a little bit better. There's gonna be more quality of life improvements, even with Mario RPG that's coming out. Obviously, the graphical it's not 16-bit graphics. We're getting the glorious the new polygon usage and a new mechanic that adds to the game, which is all right, cool. Quality of life, I'm willing to shell out X amount of dollars on that because I can still play the original on my Super Nintendo Mini. No harm, no foul. But also what you were saying, Sparks, because Nintendo did have that. That was called a virtual console, which did very well on the Wii and the Wii U.
Yeah.
And then once the Switch came out, and I am just, yeah, I completely agree. But also,
Ben.
it makes me mad because I'm part of the problem because
Yes.
I am
Yes,
paying.
you are.
I am part of the
More-
problem
Yeah.
because
Ben.
now, yeah.
Nothing makes me angrier than the fact that like I can play a better version of Ocarina of Time on my Wii U than I can on the Switch.
Actually,
Like,
I'll argue that I could play a better version of Ocarina of Time on my 3DS because that 3DS remake is so much better.
It is.
But
you're totally right. You're totally right. But I'm talking in terms of the digital game I can access.
Right,
The one
right.
they put on the Virtual Console for the Wii U is better than the one that you can access by doing the subscription service to the Switch, which is the other problem I have with it, is that there's so many games that are subpar in how they've brought them over.
Yeah, I did hear that they did fix a lot of the emulation problems with the N64 when, after the main Hubbubaloo came out. Because, yeah,
That's good.
because hardcore people, people in like the main emulation sphere, on like seeing how games worked on the Wii U, the Wii compared to the Switch when the NSO dropped their N64 expansion pack. Oh yeah, they ripped Nintendo apart, rightfully
Yeah.
so, because
Right.
if you're putting these games up on these consoles, it's like, yeah, I want a really good experience. I want this to play seamlessly. I actually played Pokemon Stadium 2 for a hot second. It wasn't bad. It's like, okay, it looks decent. It was to me, it was running fine. And there was a thing because I was still playing with my Pro Controller because I still don't have that damn N64 controller, which once again, Nintendo, what the damn hell? Making your shit scarce as hell, and it's hard for me to buy because I'm trying to give you money, god damn it.
Ben, it's working. Clearly it's working.
Yeah, I know. Once again, I am part of the problem. I 100% agree. I was going somewhere with this, but yeah, the fact that it just brings me back to the meme when the Wii U and 3DS eShop were announced that they were being closed, and that the guy made that SpongeBob meme of Patrick and the Devil Ray and the Manta Ray about, I'm willing to give you guys money to put these games on Switch for a one-time purchase. Why aren't you letting me do this? And then they're like,
really.
we don't have plans to put legacy content. Also, don't pirate our games, and just the getting beat to death because Nintendo.
So here's real quick. Back to Thousand Year Door. I'm really excited for that game just because it's a, not that I can't play it on my totally not legal emulator on my PC that I don't own. But like, I will say also, not to be a wet blanket, the art style of the original Thousand Year Door is incredible, and like the remake, it kind of, when they made like the Simpsons movie or like the Bob's Burgers movie, and it's the same animation that's a little glossier. That's kind of what I'm getting with this, because that style is still good 20 years later. They just kind of like made it a little shinier. And I'm like, if I have to pay $70 for this, Nintendo, I'm just gonna play the emulator. I'm gonna be honest. You're gonna charge me full price for a game that does look better, but it's not like it's a different art style. Like they're not remaking like a brand new, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if this is $70, I'm not gonna buy it. That's too much, bro. That's too much.
I will
For
say
one of the greatest games ever made. Still,
I will say the one GameCube remaster that Nintendo did do, and they priced it correctly, and it was praised across the board, and it still might be on my top 15 of the year, is the Metroid Prime remaster. Because yes, the game looks better. The game looks good because they up-res it for the Switch, quality of life improvement for the controls, and also they shadow dropped it, and the physical was super hard to find, but it made Nintendo money, and like,
isn't it $40 too?
It was only $40.
That's it.
So
if this is $40,
if this is $40, if the Thousand Year Door is $40, physical or digital, easy, take my money.
That's
I am 100% okay with paying $40 for a remake of a game like Thousand Year Door, because I feel like if Nintendo keeps remaking some of their GameCube classics, like people have been rumored that they want Zelda Wind Waker HD, because even though that came out on the Wii U, not a lot of people had a Wii U, didn't sell very well. Same with Twilight Princess. Put that in a combo pack. That I would pay full price for a combo pack of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, because those games would look amazing on the Switch. And you have and it's already ported. It's already done. Just put them over.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because we're looking at Super Mario RPG coming out at 60, odds are Thousand Year Door 60.
Because Thousand Year Door also it's also like it's not a 4-hour game. It's a long RPG. Like you can put dozens of hours. You can put as much into it just like any other RPG. So like, I really hope it's 40, man. But like,
I hope so
It's
too.
Nintendo, so they'll do what they do.
But of course, I keep saying I know I'm part of the problem. I accept it, and once that game comes out, and if I might be buying it because Thousand Year Door is one of those games that even on the reseller market, it's just stupid expensive. I could probably look it up on Price Run right now, and I could see like just even a loose copy of the disc probably goes for about $100, $200, or maybe not $200, but at least $100. It's expensive, and let's see, Paper Mario, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, GameCube, a loose copy of Thousand Year Door is going for $85. And that's the first printing. Player's Choice is 40. Player's Choice, like the remake or the reprint, $20, like the one they when they retail it for $20, it was like $1 million or $1 million console or $1 million title seller. That was going for 47 loose, and a complete CIB copy is $98. So it's averaging $98. Sealed is $249. So yeah,
I bet it was higher before this announcement.
Probably. Oh yeah, it definitely was. I know some of the games I sold, like Fire Emblem and Metroid Fusion, they dipped in price because of their availability on NSO.
Yeah.
But I know we've been complaining about Nintendo and their practices, but one thing I do kind of want to give them just a tiny little shred of credit for is that they did put Paper Mario on the N64 thing. So if you did decide to shell out money, like me, I could play the original Paper Mario before Thousand Year Door. And the fact that I have access to that game, I want to give them credit for it. It's still scummy is behind that damn paywall of the expansion pack. But the fact that
it's interesting that they didn't remake the first one first. It's interesting that they went to the second one.
I think that's because they know Thousand Year Door is the bigger game, is the better game. Because like you said, Thousand Year Door is one of your favorite Nintendo games of all time. And Nintendo, for all their faults, they know what they have. They know what
they know when they got a good thing. And
they know when they got a really good thing. So I know Thousand Year Door is going to sell gangbusters. I'm excited that I finally get to play it for the first time. I am really looking forward to it. And when I heard about Thousand Year Door, even I was excited because I have heard nothing but fantastic things about Thousand Year Door.
Sure.
And once again, Nintendo has problems, but when they dedicate themselves to a remake or a remaster, they don't half-ass that shit. They full-blown is like, let's make this shit quality.
They always make great games.
Yeah,
they always make great games. It's a business.
Example.
Yeah, it's a business that they're always really bad about. That's why we always come back, because their games are always incredible. They make the best games. It's just like they don't know how to sell to people.
No, they don't. And it's weird. I love you, Nintendo, but at the same time, I have this weird love-hate relationship, and I just, God damn it,
we all do.
Shall we to State of Play?
Yes. So PlayStation State of Play. Another thing that happened this the same day as the Direct actually happened a few hours later.
Yep.
2 major trailers. One of them for a game that's coming out this year, and the other big one, which was a showstopper that's coming out next year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh baby.
Oh yeah.
That game looks like
to me.
That game looks like really fucking good.
So
wow, man! Like you give a company like the first game, incredible, right? I haven't beaten it. I will beat it before this one comes up. But like the budget on this game, dude, and the set pieces, and how they are making it an open world. And I'm like, this looks bananas.
It's a PS5 game with 2 discs.
And here's the thing: we talked about we did a Jedi Survivor review, which you guys will hear about soon enough. But we talked about how that game is 150 gigs, and it's one of the most poorly optimized games I've ever played. This game is 150 gigs on 2 discs. That is so much game. I'm never. That's insane. That's bigger than Baldur's Gate. It looks incredible. Like truly, like yo, man, we got to do whatever we wanted with this one. It's crazy.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It is. I mean, people, because I remember when they announced the remake, it took them a long time because it's like, hey, remake's coming out. When it finally did come out, people were complaining like, oh, I was like, oh wow, remake is only going for a little part, that this game's never going to be finished. And then we played it, and they're like, never mind, you did some good shit. You did some really good shit here.
The thing that they did really well that I think people were most worried about is you're trying to make a 60-hour RPG out of the first 5 hours of a game.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how do you expand on that? And they do it by just doing a lot of really great side quests and just exploring more of the characters and just like really engaging like side quests and side battles you can do for fun. Like it's all the extra stuff that like you don't really need, but that the fact that it's there and it's really good makes you want to spend 60 hours in it.
And Nomura was able to, and not only Nomura, but the entire writing team behind Final Fantasy VII Remake was able to make characters that were essentially one-off. They're there for a single mission, and they die without consequence. You actually give a shit about them. Jesse, Wiggs,
I love
Jesse, Biggs, Wedge. You care about all of them. Seeing Jesse come to terms that her dad is sick because he worked for Shinra. That's what brought her to work for Avalanche, is because her dad got sick, and Shinra's not doing jack shit about it.
You go to her house and her mom gives you pizza.
Yeah,
lovely lady.
And also you see Wedge, and Wedge is like, I just want to care for my cats. I just want to protect them. And even Biggs is like, I actually care about these characters. And they expand
Badger from Breaking Bad. He's got the happy voice. I'm like, you're in a video game. What? Crazy.
I know now that he's like one of the most famous video games ever made. Yeah. And the fact that even they said, hey, we're remaking the story. It's not 100% beat for beat story that was the original. They're changing it. They are saying this is a remake. We are remaking Final Fantasy. Yeah, you got ghost stuff. There. I don't want to talk about it because, like you said, how far in the game are you? Are you like two final boss?
Yeah, don't. Yeah, I'll get to it. Don't worry.
I don't want to say. Okay, a thing that happens that actually made me yell, "Holy shit!" Because it was like it happened to a major character and it wasn't supposed to happen. Because like a lot of times, like when the remake came out, because Square was treading a very thin line of how different do we make this game? What do we need to do? But they somehow found the secret sauce, and everyone's praising Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am one of them. I absolutely adore this game. Rebirth looks like it's doing the exact same thing. It's like it's stuff that you know, but it's different, and it's going to impact the
attack you can do. Like the sync attacks where like it's like it becomes like a cinematic double attack. I'm like, oh my god, that got me wet, dude. Oh my god.
And of course that you could change out characters. You could change it because in original Final Fantasy VII, you're kind of stuck with the party and like you have to level them up when they're in a section of the story. Now it's like, oh, you want Tifa, Aerith, and Red 13 and you're into frontline fighting and Cloud and Barret just chilling in the background. You can do that.
Love that. I love that.
That's 100%. At least that's what I can see. Because I know in the original Final Fantasy VII game, as long as Cloud's in the party, Cloud always has to be in the party.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they are changing that. But if they are, cool. There's a dopey scene of him with his Buster Sword riding a Segway. I thought that was just hilarious.
Yeah. Also, you had the little Red 13 trying to ride a bike like a human being. I'm like, you're a dog. What are you doing?
Yeah. Just this entire game looks incredible. I know we're going to get that classic or that Final Fantasy VII, like, not convoluted story, but it's a story that has like a deeper meaning. And I am just so ready. We see Vincent, Yuffie's part of the party because her story was in Integrated, which I haven't played, which I need to play because I got the PS5 thing. I am just ready for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I am so excited. And of course, people are already losing their minds because I guess the director, he put out a statement, or one of the directors of the game, or director or producer, I know it wasn't Nomura. He put out things like, there is a scene that fans are dying to see, and everyone's like circling the dying bit, thinking, "Oh shit, they're gonna do."
So they said where this game ends, Ben, and it is that moment. But like things could be very different for this game, as we know. Like they're doing the Evangelion remake thing, where things are different. The further we get, the things get weirder. And that's really, really exciting.
Because I remember, because they said that Final Fantasy VII is going to be essentially like a 3-game remake of the original thing.
Yeah.
Where, because having 2 games in and you're at the end of disc 1, I want to say they're trimming some of the fat, especially in discs 2 and 3, because a lot of stuff in there, it is a lot of side stuff. It's stuff that doesn't really matter. So they probably, I hope that the team working on this did like the Marvel approach, where it's like they have the entire story planned out. Now we just need to worry about, we'll just like take some of the criticisms and critiques of the last game, and then we'll incorporate that into the next game, like be gameplay wise, mechanic wise. But to say that I am hyped for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is an understatement.
Yeah, I was, again, because I stopped playing the game not for quality reasons, just like other things came up. But after seeing this trailer, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get back, dude. Because that 7 remake is an incredible game, and like they're just doing more of that in a bigger world. And I'm like, all right, this looks like an actual sequel where I'm like, yo, man, they're really going for it. Like they're not half-assing this one.
I'm seeing that the 7 remake or the 7 Rebirth trailer. I'm like, I gotta get on playing Tiers and finish it so I can play the other games I want to play, including Final Fantasy 16.
Man, let's beat Tiers sometime soon, so we don't have to think about it ever again.
Well, I just got some news that my D&D thing got canceled today, so guess what I'm doing later today? Gonna be playing some Tiers. Gonna be getting more hours of that so I can beat it and play Jedi Survivor finally.
Yeah, you can join us for the review next week.
That you already did, yeah. But look, Final Fantasy 7. Once again, Square, like Nintendo, they have their problems. They have their issues. They have made their fumbles. This is one where this, and I want to say it was 16, where they put their heart and soul into it. We can get something amazing. We can get something fantastic. Now, I know there's people in the community who are like kind of flip-flopping a little bit, or not flip-flopping, but they're like, hey, 16 is good, but it could have been better and could have been great.
It's me. It's me.
Yeah.
That game takes a hard dip.
Yeah, it's kind of like 15. 15 started off great, took a hard dip, but I still love 15. 15 is one of my favorite Final Fantasies. I absolutely adore that game. But with 7 Remake and with 7 Rebirth, obviously I'm excited. I've said it a billion times, but I am just so excited of how Square is going to change what Final Fantasy 7 is, the story we all know. Because I will admit, as much as I really enjoy Final Fantasy 7, it's overrated. It's a little bit overrated. It's still a fantastic game. It's great. It's an early PlayStation 1 title. But if you look at the graphics for, say, I don't know, Final Fantasy 9, like the original graphics for 9, damn, they did something great there.
That's you just got good bonus internet points, Ben, because like 9 is like the most like underrated one. And people love that game.
And I mean, once again, I have 9 downloaded on my hard drive. They did a remaster for 9. They upscaled it a little bit so I could play it on my PlayStation, thanks to my PlayStation subscription. And and of course, there's also a fan because Ryan, you sent me that video of that fan who remade Final Fantasy 9, and fans are championing for Square to give Final Fantasy 9, or Final Fantasy 6 is another one they champion to get the full remake treatment. And I know we were kind of complaining about how Nintendo is just re-releasing and remaking their old games, but
this is different. This is different.
Yes,
Final Fantasy 7 Remake is not a 1,000-year door situation.
No, it is not. It is not. And as much as I want new Final Fantasy, as in I want Final Fantasy 17, 18, so on and so forth, if they were to look back at some of their older Final Fantasies, maybe the ones that aren't so well beloved, say, I'll just take a shot in the dark. Final Fantasy 2, not a beloved game. I mean, there are fans who like it. It's part of the Final Fantasy mythos. But if they were to take that, or even the original Final Fantasy, and just give that the remake treatment or the rebirth treatment, that would be amazing. And I know Strangers in Paradise. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I haven't played that one. And that is the Dark Souls. I've heard good things about it too. Once again, too many games.
It's true.
So I am looking for. Obviously, we're all looking forward to Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Brandon, are you looking? Do you think you could play Final Fantasy 7 some point, or no? No. Okay. What about 16? Do you want to try 16? Okay, that's good. We got him there. We got him for 16.
Cool.
But yeah. Besides Final Fantasy, I'll get off of my Final Fantasy 7 hype train for a bit and let's go on the subway train in New York City to Spider-Man 2. New trailer. How do we feel? Obviously, the game looks fantastic. It looks amazing. It looks spectacular.
Look at all that great Miles Morales carryover stuff. Ben, why don't you tell us about some of the stuff carrying over from the Miles Morales game into Spider-Man 2 that looks so good?
You bastard.
Spider-Man 2 looks great.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of the game I want. More of the villains I didn't know I wanted. I'm so glad. I want to meet Mysterio. I want to meet cool man Mysterio. What you about? I want to see you wear a dumb helmet.
The traversal obviously looks incredible. The answers to the questions we've been having about switching between the Spider-Man, it looks like it's going to be excellent.
They're doing what they did in GTA 10 years ago. Hell yeah.
The map looks nuts. I'm pumped. This game is going to own my life in the back half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not only going to Manhattan, but to Brooklyn and Queens, both Spider-Man's respective neighborhoods. I just love how the transitions, because one of my favorite bits about the original Spider-Man was when he was like traversing, like he was just hanging out on the subway, like when you do fast travel. He's like, I don't want to swing over there. I'll just take the subway. And he's like talking to someone, or when
Someone's
Sable's agents,
asleep on him.
yeah, or like Sable's agents, and like he's like hiding, like he's in between the cars, like hiding, like no, this is awkward. I just like how you like if you go when you go from Miles to Peter. Peter's just like laying on like the side of a of a building, just texting on his phone, and then he gets like time to go to work, and he just gets up, and it's like this is just fantastic.
You can apparently run into the other Spider-Man in this game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I think is
quite
great,
cool.
and I want it to be that way. I'm really excited about how it looks like they're executing this. It looks like top tier.
I kind of
Ben
hope
brought up
that
some of the fast travel thing, and I just wanted to say that I really like what it looks like the fast travel is. My issue with fast travel is that it's never faster than swinging. I'll always take swinging over fast travel because it's just takes me a lot less time and it's more active. But it looks like it's instantaneous. Like this is fast travel because we're using the PS5. PS5. You say I want to go here, and you will be there. That's where you will be right away.
Did you play the remasters or Miles on PS5, Brandon?
I played Miles, but I didn't play the remaster of Spider-Man.
Okay. Gotcha. I'm just curious.
One day I'll play the remaster of Spider-Man.
But I also played Miles on the PS4 because I didn't have the PS5 when it came out.
Because the load times are better on PS5.
That's
for
true.
those games.
Oh yeah, it's true. Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
this looks
yeah.
As Spark said, I'm really happy to see a lot of the carryover from Miles, especially the Friendly Neighborhood app. There's a couple of characters that are coming back from Miles, and I'm happy to see. It looks exactly like the game I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Miles' surrounding cast of characters are also part of this game, and it's not just like, yeah, you're playing Miles, but like Miles is in a Peter Parker story.
Yeah, no, it's about both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that because like we got a lot of characters in the Miles Morales game that I want to see come back around.
Yeah. How funny would it be is like you're swinging through New York, and like say you're playing as Peter and Miles is swinging by, and you go, "Hi, Spider-Man," and he goes, "Hi, Spider-Man," and you just like swing by each other.
I assume that will happen because again, not to bring up like an old game, but like GTA really like they revolutionized like this type of shit like with the three characters, and like you would switch from Franklin to Michael, and when you switch, Michael would be throwing someone off a bridge, and you're like, what did I just do? Or you wake up as Trevor, the drunk guy, and you just be like in a trailer park, and like three like women of the night would exit the place as you exit, and it's just like that's really fun. So every time you switch, like they will be doing something instead of just like it's me now. Is really incredible, really fun. This keeps it engaging and keeps it lively.
It'll be interesting in the long run to see, like, because there will be another Spider-Man game, and if we have both Peter and Miles for that game, still, I still kind of want to see what you were pitching originally for this, which is multiplayer, and how they could incorporate that while keeping like a narrative game structure. I think you have to kind of make a commitment to like, this is my buddy who I'm doing the game with, and like you're like alternating beats to get up to a story.
Terrible game, but a great comparison is Gotham Knights.
Yeah,
because that is a game you can play with 1, 2, 3, or 4 people, and the entire story is the same whether you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 people. Yeah. So like, because that is a multiplayer game, that is a 4-player game. You can have computers or humans. So like, I understand this one, them not wanting to make a multiplayer game, considering like it's something that doesn't really make like multiplayer stuff. I think there is a huge opportunity for the future of like, we can do some great multiplayer shit. Like, but I'm not expecting it for this game. But like, it is a
in
dream.
the long run, have two people being able to play Spider-Man together in the same.
Because the only way I can do that now is Marvel's Avengers, and that game its servers are shutting off in a week.
This looks really great. I'm really excited for this one. Exactly what I was hoping it would make after Miles Morales. At least it looks like 65 new suits. Very curious what they're bringing there.
Some of them, I'll be honest, don't look good for both Peter and Miles. The cool thing is though, they are doing again like what a lot of games are doing now. Is you have customizable like shaders. Destiny did this. That's what Destiny's famous for, shaders. So like you can have you got the superior Spider-Man suit. You can make it blue or yellow or red. So like there's so much more customization for what your Spider-Man can be, which is lovely.
There's a lot of original suits. Which obviously because a lot of the unoriginal suits did end up in the first Spider-Man game. So I'm very curious what if any have carried over, and then what are the new ones specifically. I'm not too plussed about the original ones. Like some of them are fine,
I
some of them
think
are not. But I'm so
it's
curious
great
to
for
know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's great for that first game that they had so many iconic suits, but they kind of bit themselves in the butt with having to make a sequel because they put
Yeah.
all the good suits in that first game, kind of. And as far as I've seen, they are reusing some, but they're trying to make it a little more original, which is fine. They got Chris Anka, who is like an incredible. He did work for Spider-Verse and stuff. Like he's a great artist, so like he's a great character designer. But like after you've made like 200 different spider suits, like some of them are not going to look good, I bet. So like it comes with the territory. It's fine.
Raimi's black suit Spider-Man, though, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
makes sense. Spooky time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Venom.
All right.
Oh, hey guys. Noel is mentioned in the game, so the next game is going to be probably about all that shit.
Okay. Cool.
Hell yeah.
Doctor Who, though.
Ooh,
It's the first full trailer for Doctor Who's 60th anniversary specials. So we get a lot of more information of what they're doing. We get a lot more of the look. We have now confirmation that Neil Patrick Harris is playing a character called the Toymaker, which was a character from 1966, who comically, all or most of his episodes do not exist anymore because they burned up in a fire. So it's actually quite funny that in this episode, David Tennant's like, I remember something from long ago. Like he's kind of vaguely remember, like the memory is coming back to him because those episodes aren't accessible anymore. But I think this looks incredible. Holy shit.
I know I've been off the Doctor Who train for a very long time. I'm always happy to see David Tennant back because I have watched a few episodes with him and he's amazing as a doctor. But even though we didn't see a whole lot of him, I am excited to see Neil Patrick Harris play a bad guy. It looks of it like a maniacal bad guy. And I am 100% for it. I am like, give it to me. I just if I could vamp for a hot second, just see Neil Patrick Harris in that circus ringleader style costume and where he's like puppeteering everything. I'm thinking it's like he is taking whatever he did, because I've seen clips of him voice Music Man from Batman Brave and the Bold. And I'm like, he's probably doing whatever he was doing with Music Man, and he is just amping it up to 11. And I want to watch this special just for Tennant and Neil Pat and then PH.
He's amping it up to 14, actually.
Ooh. I wonder if they're going to confirm that the Toymaker is a Time Lord. That was the original intention, but that was never made clear because they didn't have the word Time Lord until the second Doctor.
Sure.
So I wonder if they're going to do that because that'd be interesting. Because obviously, like Neil Patrick Harris doesn't look like the original actor.
That'd be a fun reveal.
Wouldn't it be funny, Sparks? Remember in Twice Upon a Time when they recreate his final Dave Bradley's final episode? What if they recreate the Toymaker episode with Neil Patrick Harris and David Bradley?
That'd be interesting.
Wouldn't that be fun? You know who looks really great? Catherine Tate looks like she hasn't aged a day since the last time we saw her as Donna. It's been 15 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. The thing that struck me most about this is like, oh wow, Doctor Who has a budget.
Wow.
Wow, this looks like and this is not me knocking Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who, but that show is cheap as shit, and that's not a problem. But this show has a budget. They got that American money, dude. Oh my god.
They got that Disney
Plus. They got that Disney money, baby.
Yeah, I'm so stoked for this. I think the budget is clearly on display. I'm so glad Kate Stewart's in it. I'm so excited to see David Tennant with Kate. It's Donna and the Doctor again. I'm just so stoked to see them. The two of them don't look like they missed a step. This is the great bit where it's like the TARDIS left. Let's go kick its ass. So Donna. And
the trailer ends. It's like, I'm not sure I can save your life. I'm like, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that.
I know. We do get a glimpse of Rose Noble, Donna's daughter. We don't get a lot with her in this, but that's pretty cool. Unit looks great with the big giant unit building,
like Stark Tower.
Yeah, this is really funny because the Whittaker first season, the Doctor calls Unit for the special. There's a serious problem happening to the Earth, so she calls directly for Kate at Unit, and Unit is currently being defunded by the government at that point in time.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
Why?
really funny that since then they turn around.
They really
Because
turned it around, those guys.
Because at that point in time, it had been a while since the Earth had encountered a threat, so they didn't think that Unit was needed anymore.
Interesting.
A threat they
Short-sighted government
remembered.
officials.
Because I always forget that, like, everybody forgets that the Daleks invaded. Like, I forget that their memories are wiped of that.
Oh yeah, sure.
I constantly forget that because, like, the Doctor more than once has to explain Daleks after that, and I'm like, why do you have to explain? Oh, right.
They get neuralized.
Nobody remembers.
Big neuralizer.
I still hold that I think I really like David Tennant as the Doctor. I don't love his new look, I'll be honest. I still hold that he should have regenerated in Jodie Whittaker's clothes. And then
You were just talking about that. Did you see Davies' comment on that?
That he thought it would look ridiculous?
That he felt like, in terms of thinking about drag culture, he felt like he was stepping into a realm that wasn't his place to step into. And I'm not agreeing with it, but it isn't a take I was thinking about.
Sure.
Ryan and I talked about this off air, but I would be more on his side if Whittaker had ended in a skirt or a dress of some kind. I'd be like, I kind of get you. I get that would be like the image going around is of David Tennant in women's clothing and how people would talk about it in that context. And like, I kind of get it, but like Whittaker's costume, there's no reason David Tennant couldn't have regenerated.
Whittaker's costume is really gender neutral. Like there's no, David Tennant could have regenerated into it and then gone into the wardrobe and gotten his classic coat back. Like you didn't need to do this weird clothes regeneration thing.
Whittaker is so funny whenever she makes an offhand comment around people about when she used to be a man. Just a sidebar, in her first season, she has a couple of like good jokes where she's like, oh God, like nobody would be giving me any shit in this time period if I was a man, and I would just be able to go where I want and do what I want to do and be able to run this, and nobody would be questioning it. And like, there'll just be a character there like, why does she keep saying like when she used to be a man?
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see Tennant take on the 14th Doctor, because I want to see how obviously the Doctor's personality kind of matches his faces, and the actor kind of brings a lot of himself. And we talked about it, like there's been talk that like Time Lord regeneration also changes your brain chemistry. So theoretically, if you regenerate into the same face, you'd also regenerate the same brain chemistry. So like I'm still really curious because if you do watch all of Doctor Who from Eccleston to Capaldi, you do still get the sense that it is one consistent person, constantly changing and evolving and like that. I'm so curious to see how Tennant takes what he did as the 10th Doctor and evolves it from having been the 11th, 12th, and 13th Doctor. That's something that's gotten me really, really interested. But you do kind of still get the like, he gets slapped by Donna's mother and he's like, here we go again.
Right. It is an interesting way to play into the opportunity they left themselves in the 50th anniversary with Tom Baker's reappearance.
Yes.
As the curator. Yes. And he said, like, you can revisit old faces, implying that he, in fact, was a future version of the Doctor that we hadn't met.
Something I always liked about the 50th was when they did that.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays into this. And I'm really curious, like, there's no way Chudy only comes in at the end, like in the last half hour of the third special. So I'm really curious when we're going to make the transition, or the thing I'm more curious about is if there is something that's going to happen that we kind of get both for a moment of time.
Oh.
I think so too. I was thinking about this too because there's this in the first trailer. There's the Ncuti Gatwa thing. Somebody tell me what the hell is going on here. That kind of moment. It doesn't feel like that's a moment from someone who had just regenerated.
Yeah, because he knows what that's about. Yeah.
So I wonder if it is a case of we're going to see the two of them in the same scene at some point.
Now, there is another possibility that I've been thinking about, which is that Ncuti Gatwa is playing two characters in the specials, which is one is a regular person we will meet, and one is going to be the new Doctor, because
he takes Capaldi's
told us how he chose Capaldi's face for a reason and
Yeah.
made that also canon.
Oh yeah,
And so I
Shooty could
wonder-
just be like a guy.
So I wonder
Yeah.
if Chudy is a character who perhaps will be involved in the story and leave an impression on the Doctor
Ah.
and die, and the Doctor will take his face.
Yeah.
Interesting.
maybe.
I like that.
So we'll see. I've been wondering for a while because I feel like you're right, we're in the same page of like just contextually in the trailers, it doesn't feel like he's being saved for the end.
Yeah, I really think so. There's just so much in this trailer that I really love. It's really nice to be this excited about Doctor Who again.
Yeah.
Just in general, like there's just such an energy about this trailer that I kind of missed that from Russell T Davies. Like you can tell that Davies is back in this trailer because it feels like he did back then, but with a bigger budget.
Yes.
It feels like that kind of adventure story that we're going to get back into and just hey man, you bring back David Tennant and Catherine Tate and I'm gonna be there. I'll be there all the time.
I'm really excited that Davies is back and doing his own thing. He's made two comments. That one is the way that he's kind of elaborated on the changing the outfit transition, and that have not sat well with me and made me like, I just don't like that this is kind of the way you're responding to these things. And the other one is that like fans talking about, are you kind of gonna like feeling like he's gonna wipe away Whittaker's era?
Yeah.
And his response to it was like, are you kidding? Her TARDIS is there. And I was like, that's not what they mean, and you know it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like I thought that was kind of crummy too. And like I understand that like a lot of people are not big fans of the Whittaker era. Which probably more specifically should be referred to as Chibnall. They're not big fans of what Chibnall was doing with the show.
Yeah.
And I kind of get it, even though I'm not done with it. But I understand that those were people who were concerned that like aspects of what she brought are going to just kind of be forgotten. And I don't think that's true, but I didn't like the way Davies chose to respond to it.
Yeah.
Which was just like, they did physically change what the TARDIS looked like for her era. And it's a good change. It's a little wider. The windows are different. It's a nice aesthetic change. And that's kind of the only thing Davies points to is he's like, the TARDIS is there. And I'm like, stop it.
The interior would also be the same. Hopefully.
I think it will be for a period of time. I don't think they're going to change it just for Tennant and then change it to Chudy's. So I think it'll stay until whatever Gotway's Doctor is going to be.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Ryan?
It feels like, and this is not me defending him, I promise. Like, I feel like maybe these specials aren't going to so much deal with the past Doctors and just deal with Tennant and Tate.
I think so too.
But the new season with Ncuti, if that is just, I'm a new Doctor, F everything else, then that's a problem. That will be a problem. But like for these specials, I'm not too concerned about that because it is doing something different. But I will be concerned if it is just we're wiping the slate clean with the new guy, because that is disrespectful to.
I mean, like there is meant to be like a jumping on way, but like even Chibnall stuff is carrying over aspects and talking about things.
I mean, look,
from previous.
If Eccleston can be the 9th Doctor, making Paul McGann canon explicitly, like you don't have to erase anything that Whittaker did. Like when they brought back Doctor Who, they had no reason to say that Paul McGann's Doctor would be canon, and yet they did. So like,
right.
There's no reason. There should be no reason why you should wipe away, and you shouldn't, because like you shouldn't. It's bad optics, frankly, to be like, the woman Doctor, that's the one that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think like they'll acknowledge what's important to acknowledge, but not much other than that. I don't think Unit actually comes back until now. So I do hope there's some acknowledgement of like, during the Chibnall era, it was established that Unit was being defunded. So how did Unit get back to this?
Yeah.
I hope that's not just like Unit has always been this way, and it's like no, the Doctor did call Kate specifically and wasn't able to get through.
It's just like Mission Impossible with IMF. Like they're getting shut down every other week.
But this is what I mean is I think it's those kind of elements where like there's not a lot that you have to carry over from Doctor to Doctor, but like things about how the world is shifting around the Doctor, like Kate Lethbridge Stewart's connection to the Doctor as referenced in Whittaker's era should still be the previous interactions and references that occurred.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we think now Davies, I'm reading way too much into this, and I know this for a fact. Davies has said this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more coming. Do we think there are multiple Doctors, previous Doctors in this special? I'm reading a lot into it, and that because of like these types of anniversaries are very heavily. They always bring back previous doctors, so like I want to believe, but I don't know.
I wish that were the case. In my heart, I want to say yes.
Yeah.
Because I want there to be a way to reincorporate Eccleston as they wanted to, and I love the idea of one day having a special that is Eccleston and all the new era. So
All of them.
Eccleston and
Yes.
Tennant and Smith and Capaldi and Whitaker all together.
And Tenet again.
And I want that. But I don't believe this is it.
Just from
Yeah.
everything I've seen, it doesn't
Because
feel that way. Yeah.
I think the big thing is because while it is a celebration of Doctor Who, it is also very much maybe not meant to be a jumping on point,
But it is.
but it is supposed to be
a new launch.
Hey, did you dip out after Tennant?
This is a relaunch.
Here you
almost.
go. Come on back in.
Yeah.
And I think that they're trying very hard to make it that. So leaning very heavily on the others just doesn't feel like the thing they're planning on doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always said that you can so easily do an anniversary special with the new Who doctors, because you could just say that like the Time War prevents the previous ones from interacting with the later ones, and so,
Right.
in one big kind of thing. But yeah, I realistically
Except in audio dramas where it happens all the time.
all the time. I totally am with you. I think you're right. If it's not the 60th, when, like
Then it's
This is the
the 70th. It's the 70th, but I'm just a little nervous
Hopefully-
Capaldi won't make it.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
all those guys are still there.
there's a lot of young doctors in the new Who era. Capaldi ain't one of them.
It's true.
I'll tell you honestly, like there's an opportunity that you could do this kind of storytelling in an unexpected way, which is you could do it on the 63rd or 65th anniversary. And I say 63rd because Doctor Who started in 1963. So you could do it that way
Yeah.
and kind of be an unexpected celebration of bringing all of them in. So I'm not going to say it's a dead idea. I'm not convinced it's here, and I kind of don't want to get my hopes up for it. And if it does happen, I will be pleasantly surprised. But I'm not holding my breath for it.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Again, it's just I keep thinking like, if not now, then when? But yeah, we'll see. I'm really excited. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad this is going to Disney Plus. Same day. Cannot wait to just turn on Disney Plus and watch some Doctor Who. Can't wait.
Man, it's gonna. I just the fact that it's on Disney, it's gonna attract so many more people than who've never watched Doctor Who before.
I am surprised that we still haven't gotten any clarification on
clarification.
old Doctor Who stuff, and if it's coming to Disney Plus or if it's staying on Max, or what's going on.
I wouldn't be
there.
shocked if that's like just like the license deal has to run out and that they will get it eventually.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that they haven't talked about it, because we actually don't know when the license deal is over with Max, and it's clear from the language about this that Max will not get anything going forward. So this stuff is not going to Max, and nothing else after it will.
I think it's like a Netflix Marvel situation. It's going to be just some time before we get it.
And we also still want to know, like, classic Doctor Who too. Is that coming? Is that going to be here on Disney Plus? Because like all of Doctor Who has only briefly ever been in one place, digitally available for streaming access. It would be really great. Honestly, it's what I want is somewhere, and I'm totally happy if it's Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus can easily set up a wonderful hub that's like classic Doctor Who, current Doctor Who, and like you got your hubs and you break it down, and you got every Doctor there, and you get to watch everything. Especially as they've been doing such a good job with the HD releases of classic Doctor Who.
Yeah, currently BritBox is the only place you can stream in America outside of Pluto TV, but like you know what I mean. Classic Doctor Who. So
yeah, it was all together on Amazon for a brief time, and then
wonderful time.
Yeah, everything before all the way to now.
All right, that's it.
Whoop whoop.
Nothing more to talk about until next 2 weeks. Yeah, maybe if the writer's strike ends, we might just come back next week. But we'll see. There's still the Writers Guild is not the one who asked for the boycott. It is the SAG-AFTRA. So as long as their guild is still on strike and asking for that, we are still withholding a lot of our stuff. So stay tuned though. We'll see what happens. Strange times ahead. All right, but that's it, guys. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel, please. Like it, subscribe, do all the stuff down there. There's plenty more stuff you can check out on this YouTube channel. Fake Nerd Book Club put up a ton of its archive material that if you want to check out, as well as Unbelievable Gwenpool Volume 1, Believe It, and Wasted Space Volume 4. New episodes there and new episodes coming. Basement Arcade has Mortal Kombat 11, Part 3 and 4. Again, link below. Basement Arcade Pause Mini with Norman Bates Jr., Ellie,
yeah,
Eli.
or Eli, actually.
Sorry, Eli. And of course, Animation Station with Digimon Adventure Try, leading into Digimon Adventure Last Evolution Kazuna. So check out all that stuff. And then if you guys want to check out what's been impacted by the strikes, what's strike compliant, what's not, go to our website at fictionpodcast.com, which is also linked below, where you can also find links to where you can support us financially on TeePublic or Patreon, which are also linked below. We make it very easy for you guys, really. Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who watches the live show, and thank you to everyone who watches the rewind. We greatly appreciate all of your support, no matter in which way you give it. Thank you to Jeremy Bellucci for our musical themes you heard here tonight, and all the music you hear on all of our shows. You can find him at Jeremy Bellucci _Wreck of Time. When the strikes are over, you can also find him co-hosting The Real Score, which is also a show being withheld to the strikes. You can also check out his soon to be renamed podcast, Suburban Proctologist.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's still on the feed, so you can check that out if you'd like, or at facebook.com/Suburban Proctologist official, or Instagram at Subproc Podcast. Thank you to Mike Patola, who recently returned to a con, but it wasn't one in California. It was so sad. But he's back. We love him. He's a great man. Did a couple of our logos, a couple of collaborations over time. You can find him at Mike Patola on Instagram and TikTok. And Threads. He's on Threads. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Fickner Podcast, FicknerGuys@gmail.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally, I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for AtomicGeekdom.com. Ben, where can people find
Well,
you?
you can find me obsessing over some shiny cardboard with pocket monsters at BenMagnet27 on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. You can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, GoNintendo.com, and when we finally do come back, playing Mary Frankenstein in D and Dark.
I'm holding to that October 11th date. Sparks, where can people find you?
You can find me editing like nobody's business, as we've got spooky book clubs coming out in the archives over the next few weeks, and we got Spooktober Gaming starting this next week. That's Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
And Ryan?
You can find me just frothing at the mouth, anticipating October 1st so I can become the spooky bitch that I was always meant to be at DJ Tony Snark everywhere.
All right, guys, subscribe to us on your podcatcher of choice, rate and review wherever you get us. We greatly appreciate it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Until next time we see us, guys, stay fake nerds.